Hi,
We are
Mike.
live.
We are live. Hi, Mike
Yay.
Kuipers.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Mayor.
Hi, Mike.
Mayor Kuipers.
Mayor Mike.
Let me add one
All
more
right, let's get this out of here.
to present. Yeah, if you're wondering why AJ is here with us again, it's because we had a sort of a late afternoon lunch meeting, and I met a friend of AJ's named Javier, or Javi.
Was there beer involved?
Only one?
No.
One.
No.
I had one.
Yeah. You had more than one.
Hi, Tim Van Ram.
One big one.
Yeah, if you took the two that you had and poured them into a very large glass, then it would have been one.
It's a lovely day here too, Tim. Is it a lovely day in Atlanta?
It is a lovely day. I mean, just now the sun is kind of breaking through the clouds, at least where I am in Roswell.
Hi, Neil. Neil
Very
Line
bright
One.
blue.
Let's see.
And how was the weather in List today, Nick? We have to check in on you. Oh, Nick changed cameras there for a minute.
Well, I'm trying to get this camera app to work, but for some reason it's still not coming up as
the
a
Camo
device
studio?
in StreamYard.
Hi, Sam Bolog.
Well, has the camera connected to the
John
app?
Abrams.
Yep, yeah, I've got it connected to my to the Camo Studio thing
Mm-hmm.
on my Mac.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got getting a picture on the Mac from the camera.
Yeah.
Thank you,
And
Neil,
it's the
for
same Mac that
letting me know
you're-
it's blah.
The same Mac that you're connected to StreamYard in?
Yep.
And on the StreamYard settings, you don't see it coming
No,
up
it's
as a
just
camera
it's
option?
not listed. No, it's not.
Because I see I don't even have I don't even have Camo Studio on, and I see Camo Camera in my list of cameras. And
Well, if it's camo, it's
Well,
disguised.
oh yeah, that's why you can't
Yes.
see it.
That's probably.
That's
I mean, I had it working.
Yeah, I heard you were getting snow in Colorado, a lot of it.
What?
Sorry, I'm eating peanuts.
What? What does that have to do with Camo Camera? I don't understand.
Neither do I.
John
Never mind.
Abrams said he's having snow in Colorado.
Liz, don't pay attention to them. Pay attention to us. Only us,
Do I have to?
because we're the best.
You keep saying that, Jeff.
What is this light coming from? Where's it coming from?
You're in suspense, Tim.
The good news is lasers are usually red.
I know. So I'm not thinking anybody's about to fire.
It's off your watch.
Oh, yep. I just caught the same.
I thought that
Idea.
woman was trying to blind you and steal your
She's
RV.
still sitting there.
Did she get a magnifying glass out?
Yeah, she's trying to signal him.
Oh, like kill me like an ant.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about my.
I knew that you were.
Like, that's
You're such
that's
a
kinda
man.
rude. Yeah, I know. Sorry. It's just the way we think.
All right, I'm giving up.
Give up, sir.
Well, it's a free app, so I've still got Epoch camera here connecting to your computer.
That's another one of those I think that uses iOS devices, right? Epic.
Yes.
All righty. We're going to
Okay.
get going.
Let me do so far. Those of you in the chat room, how are our levels, comparatively speaking?
Yes.
And then I will do a test of the intro from Radio Roger, which I'm sure will be too loud, but let's find out.
Tim Van Ram says good level.
Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
Sounds great.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy episode 638.
Now, Micah says that I'm a bit low. Here, let me.
Well, Tim and
little higher.
John Abrams don't agree. And Sam?
Well, Micah, I think you're a little low too.
Is that below the belt?
Do you have your recorder on, Jeff?
How low is too low?
I don't know.
Good
How low
question.
can you go?
Thank you, Tim, for
maybe-
reminding us about recorders.
Yep. Okay, I'll just bump up the gain a little bit. And let me go over here to Reaper. And
Well, Jeff is mumbling a bit too.
I am.
You were. Hi, Brad.
Okay. So I have the recorder going. Thank you, Tim Van Ram. I'll record off this as well as a backup to the backup to the backup. And
Where did Nick go?
he decided, he's still sorting out his cameras, I
Oh,
guess.
camera.
That's what it says. He's in audio only, no camera. So I think that he's probably selecting
I'm
another
back,
camera.
but I'm still. I've given up. I'm going to go back to.
Jeff, the Sultan of Wings wants to see your shirt.
Oh, this is actually, he sent me one like this, but this is one that I had before you sent yours to me, Brad.
Perfect.
But he sent me another. I have two that says I'll fix it in post. I think. Yeah. You sent me one also, didn't you, Brad?
It's good to have
fixing in
redundancy,
post.
Jeff.
Yeah, this one's a blue short sleeve. I think the one you sent me was a long sleeve, if I'm not mistaken.
Everybody knows how
somewhere
much
back
stuff
there.
you have to fix.
A lot of things. A lot of things. Okay.
Are we sort of ready?
Let me get to Evernote and the intro note.
Your countdown ready?
And, nope, not yet.
Oh, okay.
I still have to do our, let's see, our intro note. I have to rearrange everything.
Neil says, unless you've lost your job, then it's bad to have redundancy. That's true.
That's a term we don't really use here in the U.S.
Oh, we do. Been made redundant?
So do we.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I've heard it, in England. During the whole COVID thing, I heard it a lot.
Yeah.
Captain Nick and
Yes, sir.
AJ Shrimp. I'm just going through.
He's mumbling
and
again.
I am. Let me tell you what I'm doing. I'm rearranging the little blurbs for everybody's intro. Intro note. So we got Dr. Steph, Captain Nick, AJ, Shram, Liz, Piper. That's
Sounds
gonna
good
be
to me.
it, right? Okay, and I'll try to remember to skip Dr. Steph because she will not be joining us at the beginning here.
That would be correct.
Yes. And let me double check. Again, I don't have my Stream Deck controller with my fancy or convenient little buttons.
Buttons.
And so I have to use the interface of my soundboard app, which is a little bit different than I'm used to. So let me make sure I can find.
Love that bass.
All right. And New York City. Okay, Dirt Road Traveler and Captain Nick Z and ZX and Ontario. Okay. All right. Let me go over here to the StreamYard interface and find. I'm also working with a smaller screen than I'm normally used to, so
Oh, lots
a
of
lot
excuses
overlapping.
Lots of excuses on why things could go wrong.
Well, I mean, do I really need an excuse?
No.
That's just normal, right?
That's just the show.
That's just our show. So everything goes wrong. If I have anything to do with it. All right.
Ooh,
I
that
have the
sounded
countdown timer.
That sounded like
Yes,
a
ma'am?
Canadian there, self-deprecating Canadian.
I know you're wearing off on me.
You're wearing you down.
whatever. Wearing, yeah.
Peter
I'm becoming
Tarantelli,
more
hello.
and more like a Canadian.
Lucky man.
Hello, Peter. Excuse me. Okay, I think that we should probably start the show then.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Woohoo.
Here we go.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy episode 638.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from the APG Road Vessel Studio. Today's show is recorded on the week of November 4th, 2024.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Picture light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot
Jeff, we're going for 2.5 hours, yeah? Just put your thumb up if that's right.
In today's episode, 4 people
Hey, got
die
it.
when a helicopter hits a radio tower near Houston. And a bird strike causes minor injuries to an airline captain.
Windshields are shattered and we cannot be outside.
Also ahead, your feedback and today's RAF plane tale. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger. Flight 638 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Winds and 92.3 FM in
New York City.
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, former U.S. Air Force pilot and retired Delta Airlines pilot as well for 35 years. And joining us today from his studio,
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
very serious amateur photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Hi there, Jeff. Hi, everybody. Lovely to be back on the show again. Now, it's the month of November and show 638. So November 638 is actually a Northrop T-38 Talon that was used in the TV series that was called, what is it called, AJ?
Was it Airwolf?
Airwolf, exactly.
Yeah.
I knew I could guess
you can
that.
see November 638 in Airwolf,
that
and it
again.
also appeared in the movie Dragnet. Apparently, the LAPD had a T-38 Talon, but there you go. That's 638 for you.
Is for real. They really did have a T-38. That's amazing.
It says so on the
I've got
internet.
a
It must
picture
be
of
real.
it with LAPD and Ring 911 written on it. So,
Brings new meaning to speed check by aircraft.
No kidding.
oh yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you're going to be doing supersonic speeds to be speed checked by.
I
a
know, but
Talon,
even
don't you?
like at pattern speeds, you were like around 300 knots. I mean, you don't get really too slow on that thing. Anyway, well, that's interesting. Thank you, Captain Nick, and also joining us from his home studio in the North Georgia forests. Thanks for coming in from the forests and finding some kind of a shelter there for doing the show with us. Race car driver, high performance, high altitude tail dragging and complex endorsed. Instrument rated pilot with an affinity for self-taught haute cuisine and anything with enough horsepower to kill him. It's AJ Schramm.
Hey, Jeff and Nick and Liz, I'm super glad to be back. Guess I didn't screw it up too bad the first time, so hopefully we'll see how it goes today.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you made it back based on our debriefing.
You got that big envelope I sent you, right?
Yeah, that might have something to do with it. And also, last but not least is our producer, Liz. She's from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, Liz Piper.
Here I am.
I just talked too much. I added too many things in there.
I like AJ's intro. That's been rewritten. I think it sounds good.
No, I think that's the same one we did last time. I didn't change it. Yeah.
Very good. All right, you guys have a good show.
Cheers, Liz.
Okay. Thanks, Liz. We'll be seeing you. Now I need to quickly figure out how to find the feedback. And we'll be hearing you as well. I do hear you. Good check on that. And where are my... So I'm so used to my Stream Deck. Okay, here we go. Nope, that's not it. Let's do some news.
Stand by for news.
Wow, that sounded really loud in my earphones. Did it sound loud to you guys, or was it normal? No?
Sounded fine to me.
Now.
All right, good. Well, I'll just have to make a little adjustment then in my audio hijack so it doesn't blow me out. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's start with this one. This happened out in Mesa, Arizona, I believe. A little setup here. A Honda HA420, better known as the Honda Jet, crashed outside of Phoenix, Arizona, Tuesday, hitting a fence and finally colliding with a car. The crash took place about 4:40 p.m. Tuesday evening at Falcon Field Airport in the city of Mesa. A spokesperson for the Mesa Fire and Medical Department have confirmed to the news outlet that 5 people died in the crash. Let's see. Preliminary information indicates that the plane impacted the aircraft perimeter, the airport perimeter fence and a passenger vehicle during an aborted takeoff. The NTSB told CNN. I guess that must be the source of this particular article. The Federal Aviation Administration also issued a statement saying 5 people were on board the plane and that the aircraft struck a vehicle outside of the airport property. Arizona's 12 News reports that a 6th victim is currently being treated in the hospital and that the driver of the car is among the deceased, although his name has yet to be released. Yeah. One of the witnesses said he went through a dip, went past the road, through the metal gated fence that they have, through, I believe, a few concrete walls. Let's see, we were about to get into our aircraft and go when we heard a pop, saw a plume of smoke. By the time the news team arrived at the scene of the crash, the plane was reportedly already engulfed in flames. Okay, so we do have some video that we can play. So here we go. The first includes, this is from VAS Aviation, and it includes some of the live ATC audio. And should be coming on here very shortly. Again, at Mesa Airport in near...
I'm at 7 Hotel Papa. Runway 22 left, clear for takeoff. 22 left, clear for takeoff. Honda Jet 57 Hotel Papa.
Runway's 5,100 feet long, 100 feet wide. They're rolling for takeoff in the depiction on the video. All right.
Aircraft 50, number 1, runway 22 left, clear to land.
Number 1, 22 left, clear to land, Red Duck 50.
All right, still rolling down the runway according to the video depiction or simulation.
Oxford 5542, Falcon Tower.
Oxford 5542.
Yeah.
Oxford 5542, change to runway 22 right, contact tower 119.7.
19722 right, Oxford 5542.
Cessna 1312 uniform, Falcon Tower, flight straight out, runway 22 left at Delta 9 or clear for takeoff.
Flight straight out, 22 left, clear for takeoff, 112 uniform.
Okay, clear
I'm under 4 Delta Hotel.
Takeoff.
Archer straight ahead on base for the parallel.
Yeah, flight for 4 Delta Hotel.
Oxford 9507, extend downwind, I will call your base.
Downwind, you'll call our base, Oxford 9507.
There's a problem on the runway here, 1 uniform.
Cessna 1 to uniform, roger. What's the issue?
Yep, fire.
All aircraft stand by Red Rock 50, go around.
Going around, Red Rock 50.
Cessna 1 to uniform, cancel takeoff clearance.
Cancel takeoff clearance. Do you want us to get off the runway?
Red Rock 50, affirmative, turn left at Delta 8, correction, Delta 7, contact ground.
Turn left, Delta 8, contact ground, 1 to uniform.
Cessna 1 to uniform, and say that, what's the reason?
An airplane crash.
Looks like there's a big fire down at the other end of the runway. Yeah, you got a fire at 4 right.
Cessna 1 to uniform, roger. Turn left, Delta 7, and contact ground.
Turn left, Delta 7, contact ground, 1 to uniform.
Tower Falcon 7 on your frequency. I see that fire. Do you guys need us to call, or have you already done that? Falcon 7, go ahead and call. Working on it. Is it aircraft related?
Falcon Tower, Red Rock 50 confirm. It looks like an aircraft overrun.
Red Rock 50, roger. Just continue pattern altitude. Oxford 9507, are you able to exit the airspace to the east?
Affirmative, Oxford 9507.
Oxford 9507, roger. Right when you sound approved. Emergency in progress.
Returning sound approved, Oxford 9507.
Okay, so that's basically the gist on that one. And then let me play this one, and I'm going to have to turn the volume down first because it has some stupid music behind it. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is some airborne footage of the accident site and the black smoke coming up from it. And then this particular angle shows the fire. You can also see the vehicle that was struck by the Honda jet. And you can see why the driver of that vehicle is deceased as well. He was at the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm not sure what we're looking at there. I guess a piece of the airplane? Oh, okay. I see something there. Is that maybe just part of the sign? Or that might have been one of the concrete walls that they hit, yeah. Okay, well, so again, it looks like it was some kind of an aborted takeoff situation. There was no transmission at all from the accident flight. And I guess it just happened so quickly and they had their hands full. And that's really all we know is that they didn't make it off the ground and they tried to stop and they ended up, in a bad situation. Anything to...
Absolutely. Now, I'm assuming that there's a bit of a dip off the end of this runway because the tower controller didn't appear to be sighted on that situation. He obviously saw some smoke, but he didn't see the aircraft go off.
That's what it looked like in that one of the video shots. It looked like there's a retaining wall or something with a guardrail, and then it went down to the road.
Yeah.
It's a little ways on. Yeah, see, there you go. So you can see that the road itself looks like maybe 8 feet or so, 6 feet or 8 feet, maybe below the level of the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing was, and you could hear from the tower transmissions, that he was probably more focused on what was happening on the other side of the airport, the people that were coming in for landing and the pattern and that kind of thing. And I think that, he had, I would imagine was, had his head and eyes focused in the opposite direction from the departure end of this particular runway, I'm guessing. So.
Yeah. Well, until we get some information on why he rejected the takeoff, if indeed he did, perhaps he had a subtle problem that had prevented the aircraft from accelerating sufficiently fast, and he just never got airborne, or perhaps there was a flight control issue that prevented him from leaving the runway. And as a result, he stayed on the runway and then tried to stop, obviously way too fast. So we're just going to have to get some more information. I'm sure we'll hear more, won't we?
We've covered incidents and accidents exactly like that. Was a Gulfstream up in like Connecticut or Massachusetts that was taking off, and they had a control lock that was still engaged, and they couldn't, activate the flight controls, and so who knows? Okay, Peter Tarantelli says that they departed the runway at 90 knots. That kind of seems, but I don't know much about the Honda jet. It's a very small private business jet. I'm not sure. 90, though, still kind of seems slow. But I don't know. Not sure.
It doesn't quite look like, from those images, I didn't see any, marks through the dirt or through that initial wall until he hit that fence. So, but again, there's not really a great angle of exactly where he went off. So I would have expected to see some version of mark, evidence on the ground that an airplane drug through there at 100 miles an hour or 120 miles an hour.
Yeah. Brad, the Sultan of Wings says, AJ, is there a tower policy to watch each departure to some point?
To caveat or to qualify this statement, I am not a controller. to clarify,
he's always dreamed of being one, but he's not. He's just
I'm too old to be a controller. But not to my knowledge, especially somebody who is, it sounded like he might have been, single controller on the tower, he running ground and tower, plus whatever else he has to do with, coordinating with approach and so on.
Sounds like there was actually another tower controller up there in the tower cab as well, because he told one of the people to switch to the parallel runway, and then they gave him a different frequency. So I'm assuming from that.
Oh, okay. I missed that. I heard him switch to ground and
yeah. And I was kind of surprised when he said that, when he switched somebody to 19.2 or 19.7 or whatever it was, the other tower controller. I'm thinking, wow, they have two separate tower frequencies, and those runways were not super big, long runways, and they didn't look like they were that far apart either. So
that was a pretty small airport to have two tower frequencies.
Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure. Let me. Well, I've already removed the video, but I'm pretty sure that's what he said, and what was printed on the video captioning. All right. So that's that. And we'll be hoping to see something from some kind of a follow-on report to give us more information about what possibly happened with this one. Next one is another video. It's also a preliminary report. So let me load up the video. And video file. And Houston. Oh yeah, this is a sad one. Okay. A little bit of a setup before we start playing the video. And this is from firehouse.com. Scrolling down through all the images here. October 20th, a helicopter crashed into a radio tower Sunday night in East Houston, plunging to the ground and apparently causing a fire, authorities said. The crash happened around 8 p.m. near Engelke Street and Ennis Street off Navigation Boulevard. Some witnesses had watched the helicopter burst into a fireball as it crashed into the tower, which the Federal Communications Commission's records show stood about 1,000 feet high. It's a very tall tower. It was not immediately known if there were any injuries or fatalities. Officials, including Mayor John Whitmire, were expected to reveal more about the crash investigation at a news conference later on Sunday. One of the witnesses was at an outdoor concert at the nearby Our Lady of Guadalupe Church on Navigation Street or Boulevard. We saw this bright light flying toward the church. That light turned into an orange-red fireball. Concertgoers gasped as they heard the shattering of metal, and the band stopped because everyone was screaming. He and his grandson walked close to the wreckage after firefighters put out most of the flames. He saw a pile of metal where the tower had stood. Okay. The radio tower, which FCC records show, is licensed in Deer Park to Univision's KAMA-FM radio for Latin pop, was surrounded by a grass field, which neighbors a scattering of industrial sites and some homes, according to aerial images of the area. The Federal Aviation Administration has been notified of the crash, and on October 31st, the NTSB issued their prelim on the accident. let's see. You want to? I guess maybe we can show the video. And so I'm going to add that to the stage. This is from VAS Aviation, Real Aviation Communications, liveatc.net audio.
Dr. 1 Kilo Echo, contact Harvey Tower 118.7. Good night.
Contact Harvey 118.7, 1 Kilo Echo. Is about 6 miles to the east, requesting a downtown loop on at 600 feet. With information, Juliet.
And this is 1 Kilo Echo off of Ellington?
Yes, sir, just departed Ellington, 1 Kilo Echo.
1 Kilo Echo, radar contact cleared through as requested out of turner 3024.
Cleared as requested, 1 Kilo Echo.
Here's some of the video approaching the tower, and then boom.
Julia Delta, do you have any idea what tower that was? So directly east of downtown? Okay, sir, and is it possible to get a phone number for you or your company?
Yes, sir. Sorry, we have a situation going on, so I just need a minute from everybody.
Sir, do you have a company number or name that we can look it up? If you're not a problem, we'll look it up. Thank you very much for your help and your clear the block me far.
Last ADSB contact shows a helicopter flying right into the tower at 600 feet. That's not corrected, so I think corrected for Barrow, it's like 900 feet. And as we know, the tower was 1,011 feet high. So about 100 feet below the top of the tower is where approximately the helicopter hit. And they're showing more video footage of what you've already shown, Liz, in the video. The pictures of the crumpled, collapsed tower. So when I first heard about this incident, I think there was some kind of reporting saying that the tower had just exchanged hands from one company to another, and they said that there was a NOTAM that said that some of the lighting was inoperative. However, since then, and since the publication of the preliminary report, it says that yes, the NOTAM was issued not to indicate any lights out, but the fact that it had changed ownership. Not sure why there's a NOTAM necessary for that, but that's, I believe, what I read in the prelim. And this company was a relatively new company from what I recall. And let me see if I can find a little bit more information about that in the preliminary report. Do they talk about the age of the company?
No, not that I saw.
Okay. Okay, here it goes. Yeah, on October 7th, 2024. So 1 month ago. And this happened when? On about a week or so ago. So less than a month ago, the FAA issued a letter of authorization to the operator to conduct commercial air tour operations under 14 CFR Part 91.147. On October 16th, the NOTAM was issued for the radio tower, talking about the height of the tower and that it's lighted. According to the radio tower owner, the NOTAM was issued due to the recent change of ownership, and there were no outages with the tower flashing beacons. Yeah, so, and I believe that this pilot here was relatively new too. I could be wrong about that, but maybe there's some data here in the information about, no, they don't usually give that kind of information this early, so maybe we'll learn more about the details of the tour company and the experience of the pilots, etc. But I believe it was kind of a standard routing for the tour over the downtown Houston area, and somehow the pilot did not see the tower and flew right into it.
Those towers scare me.
Yeah,
we've got a little racetrack pattern that we fly around the skyline of Atlanta, and it's right underneath a pretty low section of the Class Bravo in Atlanta. And so you're kind of sandwiched in, and when you look off in the distance, not very far, you're going in between skyscrapers and very, very tall towers. And you got, about a couple miles on either side. But when we do that skyline tour at night, I've only done that a couple of times, and I'm like, just kind of makes me buzzy all over.
Normally for that kind of
we're, I don't know, 1,500 feet AGL.
Okay.
1,000 to 1,500 feet AGL.
You'd probably be above. Would you be above all those?
Some of them, no.
Towers?
Some of them, they're 1,500 feet tall off the ground.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's some, scary tall towers.
That gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Oh yeah, we used to do navigation exercises when I was in a fast jet flying instructor in the Air Force, and we'd often be working trying to get from the west to the east side of the country and back again, and we'd go through corridors that were near, big cities, so there was often a lot of smog, smoke, and pollution, or just slightly reduced visibility, particularly going into sun in the afternoon. And there were some massive towers there, and not only was it very hard to see, particularly when you're flying into sun. This was at night, so the light should have been clear, but I was always terrified of the damn things because they're thin, very tall towers, and with extremely large supports that would go out some distance. So even if you spotted the tower, seeing the wires that held them up was nigh on impossible, and it would have been so easy to skim past a tower and catch one of the wires. But it sounded like this pilot just flew straight smack bang into the middle. But there's a suggestion that they were acknowledging other traffic on their ADS-B receiver at the time. So perhaps she was head down looking at that rather than, keeping a close lookout in front. And if she was new to the area, perhaps she hadn't twigged that this particular hazard was so close to her. I don't know.
Or it could have been the traffic being called out to her was in like a different quadrant, and she had her head turned and looking in a completely different direction, possibly, and didn't see the tower coming right up on her. As Peter Tarantelli in our live audience says, the guy wires would scare me more. They're not lit.
Yeah, exactly, Peter. Yeah, that used to worry me more than the actual mast. Most of the things we were looking at were great big masts, some of them 1,500 feet or 2,000 feet. Yep, not good.
Not good at all. All right, well, moving on to this next one from the Aviation Herald, and we also have a VAS Aviation video. A Flare Airlines Boeing 737-8 MAX, registration Charlie Fleet. Oh, that's why. Yeah, we can move on then. That's why. The bird.
It's Boeing.
There was it was a Boeing 737 MAX, registration Charlie Foxtrot Lima Kilo Oscar, performing flight 641 from Toronto to Winnipeg. Was climbing out of Toronto's runway 33 left when the aircraft flew through a flock of geese. You notice they didn't say what kind of geese.
Yeah, the Canadian.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Probably.
Bound to be Canadian geese. They're just
one of the
mean
birds,
birds.
Yeah. One of the birds impacted and penetrated the captain's windshield. The crew stopped the climb at 5,000 feet and returned to Toronto for a safe landing on 33 right about 30 minutes after the departure. Canada's TSB reported at least one of the geese impacted the windshield, causing it to shatter, causing minor injuries to the pilot due to the shattered glass. It doesn't really say what his injuries were, though, did it? It just says minor injuries. Yeah, his pride. Yeah. Okay. So I think
from the look of that picture, that goose had laser targeting. He was aimed for him.
I think so. Yeah, or maybe just slightly off. Maybe if he was a little bit foot lower and foot to the inboard of the aircraft center.
I don't know. He might know the weak point on that windshield is actually right on the edge. See,
I
would be a highly trained goose.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. We got Real Aviation Communications from VAS Aviation, liveatc.net audio, and it shows the 737 taking off.
641, pan. We've had a bird strike. We'd like to level off at 5,000 initially. I'll call you back shortly.
641, okay, roger. Level off at 5,000.
Leveling off at 5,000, Flare 641.
Flair Airlines 737, we've already kind of covered this, taking off from Pearson. Initial climb, impacted the bird. I do have a question, Liz. Flair, is that like a low-cost carrier? Okay. Just curious. I've never heard of Flair before. Is that relatively new? No. Financial issues. Yeah.
Never hearing of Flair may explain a lot of your landings.
Yep. I was gonna say just that, AJ.
All right. Okay, let's continue with the video.
Flight 641 for departure, if you have a second.
Center, this is Flare 641 pan. We have a busted forward windshield in the cockpit. We have a bird strike, and we're not pressurizing. We request vectors please to the west, stay away from the path of the aircraft, and to prepare for our return back to landing.
Flight 641, okay, check all that, no problem. Turn left now, heading 240, vectors back to the field.
Flare 641, turning 240, descent.
Roger. And Flyer 641 from departure, would you prefer runway 33 right for landing or 6 right okay?
6 right is fine.
Okay, roger. You can expect 6 right, Flyer 641.
Very clear audio, considering they've got a hole in the cockpit.
Hey, Flyer 641 from departure.
Go ahead.
Hey, Flyer 641, Tower's requesting that you land on 6 right, 33 right, correction, 33 right, just because if you land on 6 right, it'll shut down the whole airport, if that works for you.
That's okay, we can try 33 right, Flare 641.
Okay, Flyer 641, perfect. You set up for runway 33 right.
Copy that.
Flyer 641, turn left heading 180, vectors for 33 right.
Flare 641, say again the heading?
Heading 180.
180, Flare 641. We'll need about 10 minutes to get ready here.
Flyer 641, just when you have a second, if you could get me souls on board, fuel remaining, and whether you have any hazmat.
No hazmat material. We have 600 kilos on board at the moment and 179 on board. 41.
Souls on board, do they include the Canadian Goose that's now
Flyer
on the flight deck?
641, contact arrival now on 132.8.
132.8, Flare 641.
Flare 641, roger. Flare 641, fly heading 150, and we will have you landing on 33 right.
Heading 150, landing on 33 right, Flare 641.
Roger, will you be ready for the approach? You need more time?
A little bit more time. I'll advise you as soon as we're ready, Flare 641.
Roger, I understand you did 20-mile final. If you need longer than that, let me know.
We'll go, Flare 641.
Speeding it up here.
And for
base.
Flare 641 pan, we'll be stopping on the runway. We are not going to be able to taxi. Most probably the windshields are shattered and we cannot see outside.
Okay, I checked that. Pass that along.
Final approach speed will be 151, Flare 641.
Okay, check that. Contact Toronto Tower 118.35 now. They're expecting you.
11835, Flare 641. On a target HU, Flare 641, we're established ILS runway 33 right, pan.
Flare 641, your number 1, runway 33 right. I'll have your clearance momentarily. There's traffic just about to land 6 right. They'll be out of your way here in a sec. The wind 040 at 3 knots. The equipment standing by.
We'll continue the approach, Flare 641.
I hope the 6 right go around
runway 33 right.
has a quick turn in it.
33 right, Flare 641 pan.
Okay, aircraft landed and was towed to the gate. So, happy ending, except for the goose. Yeah.
It could have been a gander.
Yeah. Yeah, Neil Lanhorn says it's easy to spot a Canada goose. After they hit your windscreen, they apologize. Good one. Hi, Hall Boxes says, Captain, is that a pecker in your lap? Ba-doom, bam. That's good. Bunch of comedians in our live audience. Dear listeners, you should join them sometime. Yeah, you'll have a lot of fun.
I noticed a good comment from Juliet Victor there. He was with me on my first and hopefully last bird strike just a few weeks ago.
Oh, that's right. You experienced it. AJ might know a bit about birds targeting planes. Yeah, it wasn't a Canada goose, though, was it?
No, that might have taken out my airplane.
Yeah, one last comment from Neil. It's lucky the engine wasn't hit or their goose would have been cooked. Wow. Okay. Too much, people. Too much. Okay. Let me remove from the studio. Yeah,
I do have a question about that one really quick. Why would the tower care what your reference speed is?
Well, usually you wouldn't say anything about your final approach speed unless it was different from what you would normally fly. And I have the same question, AJ. I'm not sure why it seems like that would be a little bit higher speed than normal. Captain Nick, do you agree? It seems like 151 for that kind of an airplane. It seems like it would be more like maybe 135 or 140. I don't know.
Just after takeoff, they were fairly heavy, so that might have accounted for it.
Okay.
But, I mean, I'd be wanting to fly the damn thing as slowly as possible to reduce the noise and the chance of more bits of windshield coming in. So, yeah, but I don't know. I'm not familiar with 737 approach speeds, but
I just never heard it reported.
No, wouldn't normally, unless they were trying to get the timing right for the guy that was making an approach in the opposite direction. So they were making sure they were coming in nice and slow or something. I don't know.
But of course, the tags on the, what they would see on the radar for, approach, control, and tower, I would think would have the speed readouts. But
yeah,
I guess
normally
it was just
has,
being,
yeah,
cautious. Yeah, go ahead, Liz. I don't think there's any special requirement that you include that on every call, but it's, I guess, not a bad idea just to remind everybody, especially if you've made a radio frequency change or something like that, and somebody, whatever, dropped the ball. But
yeah, we're always taught to tag at the end of your transmission. If you had declared a mayday or a pan, you would give a call sign at the end. You would repeat the word mayday or pan, just to remind everyone that's come onto the frequency or your new controller that you had declared an emergency.
Yep, good point. All right, let's move on to the next. And this is one that also has a video from Vass Aviation. Yeah, we do. We love you for sure. Do a lot of good work out there. You should support this gentleman and his YouTube channel because he provides a great service, vastly valuable. Very good. I get it. Contribution to the aviation community. And this is, well, you know what's best? I'll just go ahead and hit the play and just see if it sets itself up. Again, Vass Aviation, Real Aviation Communications, and Live ATC.
Big line of weather out there, and your 12 to 2 o'clock starts in about 120 miles for you. Area precipitation's 150 miles in diameter. Top's unknown, moving eastbound. It looks like you're skirting the southern edge of it there. But let us know if you need any deviations.
Should have given a seizure warning for this video.
I'm showing the tops at 48 on the computer, but it's not verified.
So that was Chicago Center talking
Approach
to
UPS 753.
UPS.
Yeah, 753, have you Oxford approach?
Yeah, we don't have the information. We had an emergency. Unreliable airspeed. We're at 20,000 into descent. We're on a heading right now of about 350.
Yeah, 73 heavy, roger. Descend me. Yes, we ever talked to him.
Oh, no, he just came over. He did.
Yeah, 73 heavy, roger. Oxford approach. Altimeter 2999. Expect the RNAV runway 19 approach. Descend and maintain 8,000.
2999 and descend and maintain 8,000, UPS 753.
Lots of weather. Okay, UPS, McDonnell Douglas. Here, I'm going to put this on pause so I can read it. MD11, November 251 UP for UPS, performing flight 753 from Dallas, DFW, to Rockford, K Romeo Foxtrot Delta, Illinois, was descending when the pilots declared an emergency, reporting they had unreliable airspeed, navigation problems, and some other issues on board. The crew suspected that they had received a lightning strike because there was a lot of nasty weather there in the Chicago area. This is on the 25th of October.
753 Heavy, is everything else working? Your navigation, all that stuff? Just the airspeed is unreliable?
No, I think we got struck by lightning. We got things that are coming and going.
All right, roger.
That's not good.
The current weather at Rockford.
Wind 20, actually, visibility is 9er, light rain, scattered at 7,000, cumulonimbus, overcast 1000, temperature 102.08, altimeter 3000, wind 200 at 12.
So the ceiling's at 7,000.
Scattered, yeah, 7,000.
Okay.
I think he's probably there.
753 Heavy, are you still continuing your descent?
We are continuing our descent.
In case I need to dive down.
753 Heavy, roger. Turn left heading 270.
Left heading 270, 53.
All right.
Let's go 700, maintain 5,000, I'll show you at 4,300.
Oops.
Copy that, let's keep
I love that.
As for Whisker 700.
It was 700 feet low.
Roger, Whisker 700.
But there's nothing about a violation.
UPS 753 Heavy, you could continue your descent, maintain 6,000.
Continue descent to 6,000.
GPS 1387 descending through 10.5 down to 7,000. We have Charlie on board.
UPS 1387, Rockford approach, altimeter 3000, expect the RNAV runway 19 approach.
Got Charlie.
00019 approach, RNAV UPS 1387.
Harry.
UPS 1387, are you direct to fix or just on heading?
UPS 1387.
Roger, just continue on that heading. I'm going to vector you across the final and then back in for the RNAV approach.
UPS 1387, copy.
UPS 753 Heavy, turn left heading 160.
753.
Approach from UPS 1387. We have a cap at 7,000. Do you want us lower?
UPS 1387, send and maintain 6,000.
On the 6,000, UPS 1387.
UPS 1387, you could continue all the way down to 2,500 now.
Down to 2.5, UPS 1387.
It's probably for the traffic going into O'Hare.
UPS 753 Heavy, send and maintain 3,000.
UPS 753 Heavy.
UPS 753 Heavy, are you going to be able to do the RNAV 19 approach? Is your avionics working?
It is, and we are. For UPS 753.
UPS 753 Heavy, roger. You can proceed direct to Waggett then. You're about 16 miles from Waggett, cross Waggett at or above 3,000. Cleared the RNAV runway 19 approach.
Correct, Waggett cleared cleared the RNAV at or about 3,000. UPS 753 Heavy.
UPS 1387, continue left side heading 130. Now I'll turn you back onto the final.
130 for UPS 1387.
UPS 1387, turn right heading 170, intercept the final approach course. You're 5 from Cagra, maintain 2,500 to establish. Clear the RNAV runway 19 approach.
70, clear the RNAV 19 approach, UPS 1387.
UPS 1387, contact Tower 181.
UPS 1381 is 8 miles on the RNAV 19.
UPS 1387, you're still with approach.
Sure am, switching.
UPS 753 Heavy, you're still in emergency status, correct?
That's permanent.
Roger, how many souls on board and fuel?
We got souls on board. 3 hours of fuel on board.
3 hours of fuel, and I missed the soul part. How many? 2 or?
4.
4, roger.
Road GPS 775 Heavy at 9,000, 7,000 Charlie.
GPS 775 Heavy, rocket approach. Altimeter is 3001. Expect the RNAV runway 19 approach. Send to maintain 4,000.
3001 down to 4,000 for the RNAV 19 UPS 775 Heavy.
UPS 753 Heavy, do you need any other assistance?
And then I can taxi back to parking.
All right, roger.
I think we got struck by lightning and had a lot of things we lost, would come back, lose, would come back, and it's still happening. But we're in the clear. I can see the runway. I've got my warm fuzzy right now.
PS 723 Heavy, roger. You said you had the runway in sight?
That's affirmative.
PS 723 Heavy, roger. Clear the visual approach runway 19 and contact tower 18-1.
18-1, clear the visual at UPS 753 Heavy. All right, UPS 753 Heavy's with you on the, going to stay on the RNAV to runway 19er.
UPS 753 Heavy, Rockford Tower, copy all. Wind is 180 at 9er, runway 19er, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 19er, UPS 753.
UPS 753 Heavy, right turn when able, taxi the ramp via Bravo, Golf, and Foxtrot, cross runway 7 on Golf, remain this frequency.
Okay, we'll make the turn on Echo, Bravo, Golf, and the Foxtrot to the ramp. We'll stay with you, UPS 753 Heavy. Thank you for the help, sir.
Anytime, everything looking okay now?
Yeah, we got a lot of problems here, but hopefully the maintenance will be able to get them solved when we get it over to the ramp.
Copy that. So you said 4 people on board, no injuries, no problems in that regard?
That's correct. 4 people, everybody's fine, and we just had some electrical issues with the airplane.
Copy all. Thanks. I got to put it in my report.
Great.
And so what I got out of that is that Charlie is the guy's warm fuzzy. Because they said they have Charlie on board. That was one of their first calls. I may have misunderstood that. They had issues as well, but they didn't want to go into all the details of like personal issues, mental issues. I don't know. Anyway, so MD-11, not the youngest airplane in the fleet for sure, but definitely a capable airplane. But any airplane has the possibility of succumbing to issues, depending on how intense the lightning strike is, where it hits. As far as what things are going to be involved in said issues. But normally, most airplanes out there, when they're struck by lightning, are pretty well protected from any problems with any of your avionics or other electrical components. But again, perhaps it's not as hardened as some of the newer jets out there. What do you think, Captain Nick?
Well, I don't know how much carbon composite there is in the MD-11. Not a lot. I
0.
wouldn't have thought. Yeah, exactly.
Well, not much. Yeah.
Pretty old-fashioned design based on the DC-10. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Unlike the problems that modern aircraft have, because, of course, carbon composite doesn't really transmit electricity. You have to put a layer of copper mesh into the build-up of the materials that makes the fuselage. That all seems to work very well, but on a more traditional airplane, you wouldn't have thought it would have had a major problem. Well, the aircraft's fuselage, the whole of the airframe, becomes effectively a Faraday's cage. But everywhere that there is a lack of bonding between the individual panels or the different components, you can get arcing from a lightning strike that will jump the gap, and that arcing can cause damage. And if it's not directed around the skin and then back out through one of the static lines or just out through the tail somewhere, then it can cause a very high voltage level within portions of the aircraft, and of course that can affect anything electronic. It can trip the safety circuits on your major buses that feed electrical power to various components on the aircraft, or it can actually go through components and burn them out, that sort of thing. It can affect the magnetic detectors that feed your compass. This aircraft, I'm sure, would have had inertial reference systems that would have given them their basis for their heading, but in older aircraft, maybe not. So, yeah, you can get factors, but I've personally been hit by lightning, I don't know, half a dozen times and never suffered a failure as a result. The worst I had was a radar dropped offline, but we actually recycled it and got it back again. So that was about it, really. But obviously this chap had much more serious problems. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, you could clearly kind of tell that he was thinking ahead, okay, what are the ceilings? Probably thinking, if I lose everything, it's the middle of the night, it's dark outside, and I just want to make sure that when I descend, and I keep descending, that once I break out, I'll have some altitude between the cloud base and the ground. And in this case, the weather definitely was good enough for that to happen. But that's what I sense he was thinking when he was asking about the weather conditions at the time, just to make sure that, in fact, toward the end there, he said, yeah, everything's good, got visual with the runway, almost like a sense of relief. You could tell from his tone of voice, and things were still, acting up, but he was, I think, confident that that old jet could make it all the way to the runway now that he had his eyeballs on it.
Yeah,
although
you're quite right.
His warm fuzzy, though, Charlie, I'm not sure, we didn't hear from him. I don't think that was any of the transmissions.
Well, I think if you get struck by lightning, you get pretty warm and fuzzy. Yeah, I think that's probably That's probably an after effect of the lightning strike. But
yeah, like your hair standing on end.
Yeah,
kind of warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have lined up any more perfect of a final approach fix with his voice.
Mm-hmm.
Wag it.
I was saying when you heard the name of that fix, I thought of a dog tail. Wag it.
I had the thought that if you wag it more than 3 times, but anyway.
Oh, that was a different thing. Okay, yeah. It's no longer. Yeah. Okay. Oh, look at this, Steph. Are you ready to join us? Yeah.
Sure.
Hey.
To find my
Hello,
mouse
Steph.
cursor so I can unmute myself. But yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Happy to have you join us.
Yep.
Hi, Steph.
Hello.
Yeah,
4 weeks.
4 weeks in a row.
Yeah, it's a record.
I don't even know what's happening. So. Don't worry, I'm sure I'll find a way to disappoint you soon enough here with a dropped week.
No, you could never disappoint us, Steph, unless you tell us you're not going to be with us. We're going to go ahead. We've already covered several news items, Steph. I mean, Liz just loaded it up, but we're gonna do this. Although there are really several that are really interesting that we could cover. However, we'll definitely see these again, and we'll just move them off to the side and cover them on 639. But before we go to getting to know us, I think it would be nice for us. Which one's this one here, H. So let me load up the video.
I was just looking at H, actually.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Liz, as soon as I load up the video file. I got to use all my focus and concentration on one task at a time because I'm old. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. So the title of this video, Liz, thank you for asking, is Bird Strike or Bag Strike? Huh?
Aero Cordelet L410 was forced to make an emergency return to Malinka Airport shortly after takeoff. The incident occurred when a passenger's bag, improperly stowed, struck the aircraft's right engine, prompting immediate concerns for safety.
Whoops.
The flight, which was bound for a nearby destination, reported unusual noises and vibrations shortly after departure. The pilot quickly assessed the situation and decided to return to the airport, where emergency services were on standby. Fortunately, the aircraft landed safely, and all 12 passengers and crew members were unharmed. Authorities are investigating the incident, emphasizing the importance of proper baggage handling and stowage procedures. AeroCord has assured passengers that safety remains their top priority as they review protocols to prevent future occurrences.
So, okay, bird strike? No, bag strike.
An AeroCord.
Oh, we don't need to hear that again. Let me remove that. So, let me read a little bit of the text here in our news item. In Malinka, Chile, an AeroCord LET L410 forced to make an emergency return to the airport shortly after takeoff. The incident occurred when a passenger's bag, improperly stowed. This is the one I'm kind of like, where did they stow it?
I have some ideas. Actually.
Oh, do you? Okay, hang on to those
Yeah.
ideas. Struck the aircraft's right engine, prompting immediate concerns for safety. Yeah. The flight, which was bound for a nearby destination, reported unusual noises and vibrations. Shortly after departure, the pilot quickly assessed the situation when he saw the bag go flying by. And let's see, the aircraft landed safely. All 12 passengers and crew members were unharmed. Steph, help us out. So this airplane is a twin-engine high-wing turboprop, I think, an LET.
Yeah, it looks like a goofy Twin Otter, to be honest.
Okay.
Looks like a ripoff of the Twin Otter.
I think that was one of their suggestions for the name of the
Ripoff
airplane.
Twin Otter. Yeah.
Yeah, but
the gear's
it
a little
just
different. A couple design
didn't pass
changes.
then they went
And I've
with
been looking at different pictures online trying to see. But on the Otter, there's frequently a forward baggage compartment, like in the nose of the aircraft. So I'm guessing that this one may. There's a lot of variations to this L410 for the front of the airplane, but I'm guessing that perhaps this one had a forward baggage hold, and that maybe it didn't. It wasn't so much that it was improperly. The bags were improperly stowed, but perhaps it was improperly latched, because that's a known thing on the Twin Otter. So, just a guess. Unsure exactly, but not sure how else you end up with bags outside the aircraft in that fashion in flight.
So I think I've already shared this at least once on the show, but especially from what you just said, Stephanie, regarding where you think that the bag was probably stowed and maybe the door probably not properly secured. On one of my cross countries in the T-37, when I was an instructor pilot, I was with another instructor pilot. And yes, that's always a dangerous thing. Kind of like when you see two captains, boarding an airplane or coming off the airplane. It's
I get
the
off.
same
I
kind
go
of,
to take a different flight.
yeah,
usually.
that's a red flag warning right there. And so anytime two instructor pilots are on a boondoggle on a T-37 taking off from Barksdale Air Force Base, a very large strategic air command base in Louisiana. Excuse me. Okay. So we were loading up the jet after, I don't know if we spent the night there in Shreveport area or not. I don't recall. But we were getting ready to go. We must have spent the night there. And then the next day we were loading everything up, and it was, what's his name? Steve, I think. Steve was supposed to do the walk around and ensure that everything was proper before we took to flying the jet. And we're rolling down the runway, and the door opened on the nose wheel, or the nose section of the aircraft. There's a couple doors on either side where we stuck our bags. In fact, they almost look exactly like the one in the picture there. Came flying out and didn't hit anything on the aircraft. It just, we saw it fly out. And we stopped our takeoff roll and said, yeah, we're aborting the takeoff. We did and we actually stopped the airplane on the runway, this 200-foot wide bomber runway. And I think it was Steve that ran back and grabbed my backpack, and yeah, it was his fault. He did not properly secure the compartment, and so of course, because the base ops guy was, whoever was in charge of the field at the time, had to write down the fact that there was an aborted takeoff event and had to state the reason why and everything else. And we were hoping that this would go by without anybody really asking any more questions. But we were wrong.
No such
when
luck.
we got back to Columbus Air Force Base, we were met by some people in the squadron saying, yeah, what happened here? And so we had to explain that, we didn't do a thorough walk around. And the thing that really gets me about the whole thing is that Steve, it was his fault. And he was on leave when we had this big like once a month, we'd have a safety thing among the instructor pilots. And then if anything like this happened, you'd have to go up there in front of the podium and talk to all the instructor pilots in the squadrons about what you messed up. And I'm thinking, it's Steve's issue and he's the one that messed up, but I'm the one that has to go up there and tell everybody what happened. So everybody thought it was my fault, but oh well. I'll never forget that, Steve, if you're listening. Steve Norris, American Airlines. Oh, okay. That's just to show what? Okay. Well, it's going to take a moment or two for me to do that. Okay. Let me...
We could put it in the show notes or make it part of the...
I'll definitely do that. Let's see. Do you have a... Oh, it's a tiny little picture.
Do the second one. The second one is bigger.
Ah.
That's what she said.
Gotcha. Like that. Oh, you know what? We didn't talk about in that MD-11 one with a guy that was 700 feet below their assigned altitude. And he goes,
oh, yeah.
Never heard anybody do that. I wonder if he ever heard anything else about that. That's interesting, I think. Anyway.
Well, if you're going to screw up during somebody else's bigger emergency.
Really? That's a good idea. I mean, not that you should try to screw up when somebody else is having an emergency or a pan. Okay, present and do share screen. And I'm going to go to the window. And here we go. We should have it very, very shortly. As if I can find it, where'd it go? Huh. Okay. Is this oh, I have to open it in preview. Sorry. This is great radio, isn't it? All right. There we go. Share it. Okay. Do it.
Aha.
Yay.
Hey, look at that.
Steph was correct.
That's a picture of the actual airplane as it landed.
They were both no, just kidding.
They forgot the back door too.
These cargo doors, are they the canards?
Those are yeah.
It's a braking, well, aerodynamic
they have
braking
multiple
device.
purposes, I suppose. Yeah. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I can see where that would be improperly latched and open, and someone's bag went for a little flight of its own, and unfortunately probably got eaten up by that prop.
Mangled and then sunk.
And unfortunately,
yeah, it was over the water too.
Not great
right?
for that. Yeah. For that poor engine either. That poor PT6.
Okay. Liz is telling us it's time for us to get to know us. And here we go. Play this bumper. It's the time of the show where we get to know what each of the hosts has been up to between appearances. And who would like to go first? Steph would like to go first. I can tell
All
by
right,
her
I
facial
would love
expression.
to go first.
All right. We're waiting on pins and needles.
Pins and needles. It's not all that exciting. Let's have a think here. What did I do on... I'm trying to think what I did on the weekend. I know what I did on Sunday. Through work, we get a number of tickets to the local NFL team games, and this year there was not a huge rush for tickets because the Carolina Panthers are not good. So
not tearing it
I ended
up.
up with pretty much any game I wanted to go to, except for, unfortunately, for Nick Camacho, not to the Chiefs, unfortunately. But we went to that game on Sunday, and they played the Saints, who also are not very good at the moment, and somehow we won, which was exciting. And it was, it's just a really nice day to be outside. So that's really the reason for going. It was like 70 degrees and sunny and just nice time had with family, and some of my coworkers were there. So we enjoyed that. And surely, Sunday morning, I did not participate, but had quite a few friends and teammates running the New York City Marathon. Watched that on TV and cheered for them kind of virtually. You can kind of track everybody on the app these days, so you can see their little, basically their initials on a little placard moving around the city in various places. So that was my Sunday morning, and I must not have done anything on Saturday because I can't remember what I did, but did not do any flying this week. Yeah, maybe slept. Definitely got plenty of rest the past couple of nights. So got an extra hour of sleep on Saturday night, correct, into Sunday. And yeah, that was my exciting week. The rest of it's been work, and that has not been exciting. In fact, it was quite a lot on Monday and Tuesday, and I was worried it would be the same today, but it was not as bad as I feared. So glad to be able to join you all again.
To show you how bad it was that the Saints lost to the Panthers.
Yeah.
The coach of the Saints got canned, I think, after that loss. I think it was like 6 in a row or something.
It was, they won their first 2, and then they lost every game since then, which was like
else.
6 or 7 games.
Oops. Yeah.
And honestly, if you lose to the Panthers, your coach probably deserves to be fired.
That was it. That was the final straw, the last straw. And I know that my lighting is causing weird stuff going on there, but it's getting kind of dark here in the parking lot.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes.
If you lose to the Panthers, you get fired. What happens to the Panthers coach? Because obviously they must be worse than everyone they play. How come he's still got a job?
Because they've been so bad for so long, they kind of just have to stick it out to see what's going to happen for the season. Yeah.
No one was surprised.
Yeah, it was not. Yeah, that was kind of a given. They expected to lose and they won, so maybe he got a bonus. I'm not sure, but Nick will appreciate this. They that team boarded a Virgin A350 today to go to Germany. They're playing, I forget what team, in Munich, I think, this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Is that our effort to spread the wealth to the rest of the world, this wonderful thing we call American gridiron football?
Yes.
Oh, I assume they've gone to Germany to play soccer.
Oh, they're playing
New York
the Giants.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
This Sunday in Germany. So
cool.
that game did show up on our schedule for possible tickets. And I said, oh, do we have tickets to the game in Germany? And our admin immediately wrote back, oh, sorry, my bad.
No.
We do not have tickets to that game, because I would have gone. So.
Wonder why they didn't fly Lufthansa. You'd think that they'd use the German.
Virgin are cheap.
And we have Lufthansa flights to Germany or to Munich out of Charlotte.
They don't?
On a 350, yeah.
You do?
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do.
Oh, but but if it's a football team, they're going to charter a whole airplane, aren't they?
They're going to pretty much take up most of the seats, I would imagine.
Yes.
They'll just squeeze in with everybody going to, back home or on vacation. They'll be fine.
Yeah. Very good.
Well done.
AJ.
Not a whole lot, a little bit. Got to go to the annual meeting for our glider club. My daughter is a up-and-coming glider pilot.
Oh, cool.
And managed to avoid getting elected or put on any committees. So,
how old
great
is your
success.
daughter?
She's 15.
Okay, cool.
She got a couple of flights in as well that afternoon, and it's been a tough kind of month of October because we had, family vacation. Then we had a hurricane, and then she had a lot of. She's very involved in her marching band, and they had a lot of competitions, which they killed, by the way. But so she hadn't flown in about 5 weeks, and we were kind of worried about getting her kind of back in the saddle, if you will. And she nailed it. Her 2 flights, her instructor said if she was up there by herself, she would have had 0 problems. So she's getting really close to soloing an airplane at 15, which I think is pretty cool.
Nice.
Excellent.
So very proud of her, obviously. And then enjoyed it because I got to fly her down in the 182. Had a just gorgeous flight. Took off in very, very low overcast out of our airport up north of Atlanta, and then cleared up about halfway down the state, and just was absolutely beautiful. Clear skies, no winds. It was super smooth. It was a great flight there and back. And so enjoyed the weekend, and then got to meet up with Captain Jeff on Monday.
That was Monday, I think. Yeah. Monday.
Got to have my one beer, and introduced him to another friend of mine who's a Acme airline captain, and I got to sit back and listen to about 7 or 8 hours worth of awesome stories.
It just seemed that long. It wasn't actually that long.
It was cool. Well, that particular person commented that he said I've never sat that long in one place and enjoyed it so much. So that was a plus for you.
Very nice.
Yeah, he was a very nice guy, and he did not have any beer for some reason.
He had a sip of the Captain Crunch beer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, this beer. Remind me again.
Cereal for dinner.
And it's a South Carolina brewery.
Edmund Oast.
Edmund Oast. And it actually tastes like, I don't know if you guys get you probably don't get Captain Crunch cereal in England, but in Canada, Liz is saying they do. I love Captain Crunch. I mean, it's not very good for you, but it's very tasty. And this beer actually AJ goes, "Here, taste this." And I went, "Okay." And I said, "What is that?" And there's like some sweetness to this, but I don't know. I can't identify. He goes, "Captain Crunch." I went, "Oh, that's it. Perfect. Love it." I had my next beer was a Captain Crunch, or no, cereal for dinner.
Even though it was lunchtime. It's very confusing.
Yeah, it was kind of late lunch.
He's on the 7576.
But he has flown the 717.
So, yeah, he was on the 7-1 for a while. Before that, he was on 7-4s for a Asian-based cargo company for many years.
He knows. I asked him if he recognized, or we mentioned that Captain Nick's very, very good friend, Nigel, flew for this company, and he goes, "Demery?" He actually knew Nigel Demery's name. We're like, "Whoa, I can't believe that you know him." Yeah, so Nigel. Anytime you encounter Nigel, I'm sure you'll never forget it, and that's probably both good and bad. Just kidding, Nige. I'm sure it's always good, always good. All right, Captain Nick, what you been up to?
Hi. Yeah, well, I was due to have a busy week because I was giving a talk to the RAF cadets in a local unit, and then up to Kingston, I think, for a talk to the Hawker Association. 2 different lectures. And first of all, the RAF cadets cancelled because their building has been damaged and they currently can't use it. So I went, "Oh, okay, well, that's eased that problem." And I phoned the Hawker bunch because I hadn't heard from them to confirm for a while, and turned out that the guy in charge of the lectures is in India doing good works as part of a Christian organization, but he double booked, so I didn't have to do that talk either. So 2 cancelled talks. I will do them sometime in the future. Certainly the Hawker boys already said on February next year would be great.
They don't know what they've missed.
Yeah, there you go. Or perhaps they do. So I ended up working on the photographs for Bob Judson, and I mentioned I'd done a photo shoot for him. I'm officially retired, so I wasn't charging. And you remember Bob is an ex-Air Force colleague of mine, and runs a podcast called leadingforlife.co.uk. At least that's his website, and it's leading4life.co.uk, and he tutors people in the art of leadership. Anyway, we had some lovely time with his two dogs, and there are some pictures there of them cavorting around our local army ground. That's a bit of a rude dog, that one.
That's my favorite.
Tongue out. And yeah, they're great animals, so that was good fun. And while I've got the floor, do you want me to do the cover art from last week?
Yes, sir.
So we had a whole bunch of suggestions, cheesy, high-quality artwork. This is fairly cheesy. I don't know about the quality. We're also one of Steph's favourites, when you get voluntold, not volunteered. I couldn't quite work that one. Lower limb issues, poor Captain Jeff, and the one that won, as far as I was concerned, was Cowboys in the Tower. I'm trying to remember which story that related to, but
yeah, we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was some simultaneous taking
landing
off and landing on the same runway. Yes, not very clever.
I think Liz is the one that said something. There are a bunch of cowboys in the tower.
Almost certainly.
Yeah.
So, artificial intelligence is still not very good at doing people. So I had to fix so many bits and bobs, mainly arms coming out of odd places and hands with too many fingers and just odd looking things. So eventually I managed to get a whole bunch of cowboys there by the tower of Tombstone City. It wasn't until afterwards I realized I could have put Tombstone Tower. That would have been an even better thing to have in the middle. That would have been more fun. But
it could have been Cowboys in the Tombstone Tower.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, and I don't know if you told or you did this on your own, but that the color saturation kind of has that look of an old Western to me. Yeah.
That is how I didn't correct it. That's how it came out. So I could have punched it up, but I thought it was all kind of good. It was quite period. And of course the sheriff's badge on that cowboy there is the APG logo, and if you look carefully at his belt buckle, I suspect he got that belt from the 637 ranch, because that was the show number. There it is in the middle of his belt.
Actually, he got that belt buckle from our merch store on the airlinepilotguy.com.
There you go.
Just kidding.
Excellent.
You're going to be disappointed if you're looking for one of those on our merchandise page, but yeah, we're out of stock right now.
So that was last week's
excellent. Loved it.
Artwork. Yeah, look, it came out well, didn't it?
What have I been doing? Well, not a heck of a lot. Just editing and singing, and what else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. I was trying to get down to the reason that the audio player wasn't doing what it used to do, as far as having a download link and that kind of thing, and doing some workarounds. And then I thought, you know what? Liberated Syndication, the company that does the hosting of the media files, that anytime you're listening out there right now, you're listening to a podcast file that's being served by Liberated Syndication, or Libsyn. They have their own built-in embeddable player, and so I thought, why? I guess I could just use theirs. I think at some point in the past, I thought it was just, I didn't like it. It was just too much going on. It wasn't as nice and slimmed down as I'd like. Johnny Ive would not be happy with it. He's one of the big design people at Apple Computer. Or no, not Apple Computer, Apple. Anyway, so I went ahead and changed the last couple of episodes using this embedded player, and from now on I'll be using it. And it looks like this. And you can see it has a little 1x1 square view of the show art. And the important thing is there is I've circled it with yellow, highlighted it. There's the download link. And so you click on that baby right there, and you get taken to a dialog box. You can download the MP3 file directly to your device. So a lot of you out there were complaining that that disappeared, and so now it is back by using this audio player. So that is one of my accomplishments. Had a lot of failures during the week as far as RV-related things, but I'm not going to go into that. But everything's still good. So, and I'm in a parking lot right now, the same one that I was in, I guess, last week, and kind of looking at a grocery store over here and a Starbucks behind me, and I'm probably going to have dinner over at Chipotle after we finish the recording. So, it's all nice and convenient. And then I'll head back up to the big lake up to the northeast, about just under an hour's drive from here. So that's it from me. All right. Coffee fun. That means I got to go here I wish I want my stream deck back. Okay, here we go.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Oh yeah, the Coffee Fund. It's your way, dear listener. Do you want to support us financially? This is the way to do it. You can become a member of the Coffee Bar Club, and a couple of different ways to do that. One is the old, the OG, the original Coffee Fund Classic method. And since the last episode, we have Kevin Dryden in Vancouver Island, BC. He sent us a contribution. And then a couple of recurring contributors using the Coffee Fund Classic method, Mazuz Karim and George Hollis. And the other way to support the show financially is to become a patron of the show via patreon.com. And you can specify a certain amount to pledge per episode. And you can speculate, or not speculate, you can stipulate. You can speculate on why you did it, but don't speculate too much. But you could stipulate a maximum amount, donated per month if you'd like. And we have several of you out there that are doing that, and we do appreciate you. No new patrons this time around, but we have hope that there will be more. So check it out by heading to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did. And we will too. Okay, I believe our producer is telling us that we should probably, when Nick returns, we'll do the plane tail. Is my audio still feeding okay to the stream?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure before I started the plane tail. And all right, let's see.
Golly, that coffee fund goes by fast nowadays. Either that or I need to go see the doctor and have my prostate checked.
Well, exactly the same thought, Nick.
I'll tell you what.
Are they done already?
I think that if more people contributed, like this other Air Talk podcast, it would be twice or three times, maybe even four times as long, and you'd have all kinds of time to do stuff.
Well, yeah.
This is a plea for contributions so that Captain Nick has enough time to.
That's our plea. Please help Captain Nick with his physiological issues, and send more money to us. Okay, come on, win-win.
Yeah.
I say.
I really need the help.
Okay, so we are going to go ahead because it's kind of getting late for Captain Nick. What time is it there? Like midnight or something, or what?
It's only 5 past 11.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So we're going to go ahead and do the plane tail before we tackle our feedback for the show.
Come to get
I don't know if you guys
Jeff.
can hear the siren in the background, but
We
somebody
can.
is getting pulled over, I think.
The question is it
me.
you?
Sorry.
Time to go.
My bad. What did I do wrong? I'm not supposed to be parked here.
Speaking of, I got my updated registration sticker for my car I need to put on before I get pulled over for out-of-date registration.
What's that?
Oh.
Yeah, I just had you're right. I did. I drove around quite a bit throughout several states and
At one
crossed an
time,
international border without a
just
valid
very
license
sincerely
plate.
forgot for like 16 months, and I did finally get pulled over for it.
Wow.
Well, there was more to the story than that. It involved also purchasing a new vehicle where I just in my mind thought that it had happened, but had not. So, but if I was smart, I would have looked at the actual tag and seen that it was over a year out of date.
Did you have like one of those paper temporary tags? Or
No,
was it
the state I live in, the registration yearly renewal is tied to the license plate itself, and you can just transfer that onto a new car without actually updating the registration. So, I made that mistake. Oops.
Oh, well, I'm glad you got it done before they pulled you over and gave you a ticket.
No, they did. I got a ticket for that one.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't.
That was a while ago.
I wasn't
I've
listening
learned my lesson.
well enough.
That's okay.
Sorry.
That was like 10 years ago, so we're good now.
Okay.
So, are you a felon?
No, that was
a felony.
It wasn't anything. It was a non-moving violation, which is about the lowest of the totem pole of trouble you can get yourself into. And it basically said, go pay your registration fee and then also give us $25 for our time and hassle in pulling you over. I said,
and slap yourself on the bottom a few times.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Okay. Yeah. Well, all right. It's now time for us to go to this episode's, that's not the right way to say it, this week's Plain Tale. It's now time for us to go to this week's Plain Tale from the old pilot, entitled RAF Form 414, Volume 31. I always look forward to these, and I'm sure you all do as well. Here we go.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales, RAF Form 414, Volume 31. I'm moving things on a bit in my logbook tales, as it seems to be taking forever to get to the end, so here's the next one. I'd found a temporary job with the aircraft manufacturer British Aerospace, flying Tornadoes and Hawks for them, but now I was getting invitations to interview for jobs with a number of airlines. After months of drought, the floodgates seemed to have opened, and after wishing for just one offer, I now had the opportunity to actually choose who I would go to. First, however, I needed to get through the interviews. I was invited to interview with Monarch Airlines, a long-established charter and holiday travel airline that had a good fleet of aircraft, including some long-haul A300 wide-body twins. My interview was a relaxed affair in an open-plan office at the desk of a fleet manager. I didn't have to say much, and the most difficult question seemed to be if I would be happy to join BALPA, the pilots' union that everybody belonged to. By the time I got home, I'd already had an offer for an A300 course. Next came Cathay Pacific Airways, which had one of the highest pay scales in the industry, but was based in Hong Kong. I had many friends there, all ex-military, including Captain Nige, and I was keeping in touch with them, but there were rumours that recent changes in senior management were bringing unrest and turmoil to the airline. I interviewed in London with a team that had flown over to see the UK candidates, and was delighted to find that one of the captains on the selection board was Razor Gillett, an old QFI colleague I knew from my days as an instructor. The Cathay interviews were notoriously difficult, particularly the technical exam and the skills test, plus the cocktail party, with wife in tow, held in Hong Kong. Subsequently invited to fly to Hong Kong to participate in the second stage, but Jilly was dead set against living there, and I knew that I could only accept that job if it was Hobson's choice, Cathay or nothing. In addition, I was getting very strong negative vibes from Nige. There was one other UK company I was interested in, but had heard nothing from them. They were a very small company with a fleet of only 10 aircraft, all 747s, but led by a well-known British entrepreneur from the music industry, Richard Branson. He owned Virgin Records, a company that he had built into a worldwide distributor with Virgin megastores in Times Square, New York, Sunset Strip, LA, Oxford Street, London, in Vienna, Paris, Amsterdam, Barcelona, Vancouver, Sydney, Melbourne and Adelaide, Shinjuku, Japan, and many more, totaling hundreds worldwide. At his recording studio in his country manor, set in the beautiful countryside of Oxfordshire, he had been happy to let the 19-year-old musician, Mike Oldfield, use his studio equipment, and even hired the many instruments his prog rock composition required. When complete, Branson tried to sell the album, but selling an undefinable instrumental with only 2 enormous tracks proved impossible. The best offer he got was $20,000, so he marketed it himself. The rest is history. Tubular Bells has sold 15 million copies worldwide, was featured in the movie The Exorcist, reached number 1 in the UK album charts and number 3 on the US Billboard 200. It won Oldfield a Grammy and is in their Hall of Fame, as well as featuring in many lists of the best instrumental and prog rock albums in history. More importantly for me, although I love that album, from the profits the record made, Richard Branson started his airline with his first old and rather decrepit 747-100 series, and he named one of his aircraft Tubular Belle, spelt B-E-L-L-E, meaning a beautiful woman. I was still working for British Aerospace, but they were being very good about giving me the time off to attend interviews. But with a firm offer of a job with Monarch, I didn't need to accept any more, certainly with my second tier of possible outfits. Then came the letter I really wanted, the one from Virgin Atlantic Airways. I'd already been to their headquarters at Gatwick some months previously. My father had put me in touch with a flight engineer he knew from his days in Kuwait Airways, who worked for them, Brian Bauer. The lovely Brian, who I'm still in touch with, invited me down to see their operation, and I gladly accepted. It was a tiny building, just 2 floors high, beside the airfield perimeter. So small, a few years later they moved, and it was converted into a uniform store. I had very little experience of how an airline was run, but this seemed to be a bit of a shoestring operation. However, what struck me was the enthusiasm and dedication of everyone there. More than once it was explained that this was like a wonderful flying club, with 747s instead of Cessna 172s. Then, to my complete surprise, Brian opened the office door of Captain Nightingale, the Director of Flight Operations, and I was invited in. He was a slight man, very precise and polite, and he immediately pulled my CV from a pile on his desk, giving me a 5-minute critique on what was wrong with it, while he scribbled a few notes, and then it went into his out tray. Shaking my hand, my time was up. Now I was going to get the chance to interview for the little airline with the big profile. It appeared that the Airbus A340 launch customer, Northwest Airlines, had at some considerable cost pulled out of their firm order for 20 A340 4-engine long-range airliners when the engine supplier changed from IAE to CFM. This decision nearly put Northwest into bankruptcy, but one airline's misfortune is another's bonus day, and Virgin Atlantic benefited from an amazingly good deal. The surprise acquisition of a number of Airbus airframes into an all-Boeing airline created more than a few ripples, but it opened up the opportunity for recruitment, and I got an interview. Without a lot of space available, Virgin took part of a nearby hotel to conduct their meetings with the new recruits. While each of us took our turn to chat with the panel, the rest took a written test, but it wasn't taken particularly seriously, as without an invigilator we all collaborated to get the best results we could. The interview questions weren't too taxing, but I definitely had to give up on one. Asked what failures would affect my calculations for a decision point on a long transoceanic crossing, I could only think of things related to the power plants, like engine failures, fuel leaks, etc. And eventually I had to admit defeat. Depressurization was the one I missed. While I waited to see how I'd done with Virgin, I was back at Wharton, in the front of a Tornado or the back of a Hawk, when I got an amazing opportunity. The Royal Malaysian Air Force were taking delivery of 108s to be precise, and had paid a considerable sum to have them delivered to Royal Malaysian Air Force Base Butterworth on the west coast of the Malay Peninsula near the island of Penang, and would I like to fly one? Wow, what an opportunity, and yes, please, was my immediate reply, which was how I found myself a few days later doing a formation takeoff from Wharton in a brand new, shiny and fully equipped Hawk heading for the other side of the world. This Hawk bore little resemblance to the trainers that I'd flown for over 1,000 hours for the RAF. They had a head-up display onto which could be overlaid the image from a nose-mounted FLIR, forward-looking infrared camera. The center panel was dominated by a full-color multifunction display onto which could be transferred a number of systems, instruments or navigation displays. As a backup, British Aerospace gave us each a handheld global positioning system programmed with all our routing for the entire trip, consisting of 8 legs. Since these Hawks were considerably heavier than earlier Marks, they sported a pair of underwing drop tanks to compensate for the additional fuel burn the uprated engines incurred. About the only downside of these little pocket rockets was the lack of luggage space. The old Hawk T1s I was used to had space in all sorts of corners, and there was even an entire baggage container that fitted snugly into the belly. Not so these aircraft, since the electronic upgrades fitted needed lots of room. As a result, we were obliged to stuff the cockpit with little bags of toothpaste and spare underwear. I hung clean shirts off the ejector seat, but we were lucky as we were headed to warm destinations, the first of which was Nice in France. Climbing out through the murk that seemed to permanently surround Wharton, I was grateful when we got above the cloud and I could relax my close formation position to a more distant battle formation. In the lead aircraft was our ever-grinning leader Hoppy, and in his back seat was Garth, our navigator. Across the formation, flying on the other wing, was a test pilot from another of British Aerospace's factories. He seemed to resent my good fortune in getting this job, as apparently a delivery flight was a much sought-after jolly. Still, I wasn't going to let him spoil this adventure for me. We flew south over the English Channel and down through France to the beautiful south coast, with its exotic resorts like Saint-Tropez, Cannes and Monaco. As the sun started to set, we followed our leader down towards Nice Airport on the Côte d'Azur. Rather than a more flamboyant run and break into the circuit, with the city and the beautiful curving Baie des Anges, the Bay of Angels Beach, we lined up in trail and flew a more discreet and quiet approach to land. Having put the aircraft to bed and searched the bottom of the cockpit for sufficient clean togs for the morning, we set off for a beautifully luxurious hotel right on the beach with a wonderful view of the rising moon over the bay. Suitably refreshed, day 2 we clambered back in and took off bound for Greece. Arriving at Tanagra Air Base, home of the 114th Combat Wing of the Hellenic Air Force, we turned the Hawks around as promptly as we could, whilst Gareth took himself off to file flight plans for the next leg. We were doing pilot turnarounds, since we were unsupported by any ground personnel, and quite honestly, there wasn't much to do for a turn. We refueled the aircraft from Bowser's, and since the Rolls-Royce Ardeur doesn't consume a lot of oil, and we expected our oxygen to last all the way, we were just required to check the contents. Everything else could be covered by a slow walk round. We were only on the ground for an hour, and then we wound the motors up and took off bound for Luxor. Luxor is the Egyptian city famous for the ancient burial grounds for many of the royal pharaohs, in particular Tutankhamun. Sadly, though, we didn't have a chance to visit him, but we did stay in a particularly nice resort on an island in the middle of the Nile. In the morning, we assembled for breakfast, dressed in our British Aerospace bright orange flying suits, me with the 4 gold captain's bars on my epaulets that I'd been issued with for the flights. It didn't really occur to me, but the other guys hadn't bothered to put theirs on. Perhaps I should have followed their lead, because as we settled into our coffee and croissants, a lady tourist came up and asked if I was going to be their balloon pilot for their flight over the Valley of the Kings. I didn't live that down for the rest of the trip, and perhaps that's where my long resentment of lighter-than-aircraft pilots comes from. The next leg was going to be the longest of our 8 legs, a 2-hour, 30-minute flight over 1,200 nautical miles to Dubai, right across Saudi Arabia. We crossed the Red Sea and then transited over a desolate desert landscape before reaching the Persian Gulf and the old Dubai International Airport. Back in 1993, the airport was a shadow of the ultra-modern development that it's turned into, as the second busiest airport by passenger numbers in the world. Our hotel was delightful, which was a good thing, as we'd earned ourselves a day off. Apparently, by doing the arduous duties of putting fuel into our aircraft, we were entitled to a day off every 4, which suited me, as a day by the pool on allowances was a great way to rest. Suitably refreshed, we started our next flight to Mumbai and thence to Kolkata. The flight to Mumbai involved our longest oceanic crossing, 1,000 nautical miles over the Gulf of Oman and then the Arabian Sea. The 2-hour crossing and a little single-engine trainer went well, but I did wonder how easy it would be to find one of us in that vast expanse of water as we floated around in a minute coffin-shaped dinghy. On the approach to Kolkata, the smoky pollution was like fog, so I flicked on the FLIR, which helped me to see through the yellow haze and find the runway. After squeezing ourselves into one of the ubiquitous little yellow taxis, in reality a copy of the 1957 model of the 55 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 30.5 seconds, British Morris Oxford. We enjoyed a great curry, slept in fine linen sheets that felt a bit damp in the freezing air conditioning, and headed off for Bangkok. Here we enjoyed an extra day off that was interrupted by the Crown Prince. A military officer and trained pilot, he wanted to fly his Northrop F-5 jet fighter, and for that the military apron had to be cleared of all other aircraft, including our Hawks. Hoppy and I volunteered to do this small task, and having arrived at the airport, we jumped into our aircraft and taxied them to the new area. Being the first to finish, I trotted back to the last remaining aircraft and tried to start it. The APU whined, the RPM rose. I opened up the fuel cocks, but the Ardeur refused to start. A second start was equally fruitless. I was panicking a little, as the starter needed an hour's rest after 3 attempts, so I was reluctant to give the engine a dry run, as the Crown Prince's pristine fighter was already sitting beneath its huge golden canopy, staying cool, and we needed to hurry. I had checked and double-checked all the switches and settings, so tried to start a 3rd time. The APU whined, the RPM rose. I opened up the fuel cocks again, but the engine sat stubbornly, grinding away, refusing to light up. As I was about to give up, I remembered some switches right at the very bottom of the center panel near the floor. Usually operated only by engineers for maintenance, pilots never normally touch them. A rule that obviously didn't apply to test pilots. Flicking the igniter isolator switch on, there was an enormous whoomph, and the world behind me lit up as the accumulated fuel in the engine ignited all at once. An armed guard who had wandered up behind the aircraft to see what was going on threw himself down onto the concrete, his assault rifle clattering away as 50 feet of flame shot out of the jet pipe. I could see Hoppy clutching his stomach and literally rolling around with laughter as the engine meekly started, and I quietly taxied the jet away, trying to whistle as if nothing had happened.
Now, tell me.
I had an urge
All
to
right.
salute there for a second.
Yeah. Was that photoshopped? That flame coming out of the back of that?
Well, yeah, it's a bit hard to be in the cockpit and taking pictures at the same time. Yes, I'm afraid there's a recreation of what apparently it looked like.
So you said the guard fired his weapon?
No, he threw it away. He
Oh, okay.
He
I thought he was
dived
like
to the
just
floor,
shooting
and his
that
weapon
in the air or
clattered
something.
away. But
Oh, I see.
I spent
the
the next
clatter was
half
the
an hour.
weapon on the ground, not the actual firing of the weapon. I got you.
That's
Okay.
true.
Gotcha.
I spent the next half hour with my handkerchief wiping the soot off the tailpipe of this brand new bloody aeroplane, so that the Malaysians wouldn't notice that we'd had a hot start, as it were.
So
A
was
jet
that
pipe fire?
was that actually the button that no good pilot should ever press?
I often thought about that, and as I said it, I thought, yeah, someone's going to say that, but I don't think it was, but it could have been, and he might have been the pilot that did it. You never know.
What a
We
great
had
story.
we had a good time. We had a good time, and Bangkok was as nice as you can imagine. It was a very pleasant place to be for a couple of nights. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think we'll probably find out,
eventually.
Liz.
Yeah.
In
the
installment
future.
number 570.
Well,
that was volume
I'm
31.
Oh, okay. So just a few more to go.
So, yeah.
This is starting to turn into like Star Wars, where you watched 4, 5, and 6, and now we're watching the prequels. Like, we know what's gonna happen, but
yeah, absolutely. But I'm very luckily I didn't write much in my civil aviation logbooks, so there aren't many stories coming from there. So I mean,
I
I've
bet
got
you
a
can
few I can
remember some.
remember, I expect, but
Yeah.
anyway.
All right. Well, we always enjoy the plain tales, and especially the RAF Form 414.
Well, thanks very
thank you.
much. I'm going to keep trogging on.
Excellent.
As long as I can.
We hope so. Okay. I think we're going to go ahead and tackle some feedback a little bit.
Yep,
at
I'm going to
least.
stick around for 20 minutes, and then I'm going to disappear. So if I stop talking, that's what's happened.
Okay.
We won't
Very
send the
good.
rescue squads.
No, don't.
All right. Well, let's play the bumper.
Captain, incoming message.
Our first two feedbacks come from the same listener, Brent Loper, and they're both funnies. Let's see. The first one is, and he sent us an image. Go ahead, Liz. Of looks like a part of a newspaper. I'm not sure what the publication is, but here we go. Passengers traveling first class on British Airways Boeing 747s are worried about a redesign, which means some lavatories have windows. A woman traveling to New York complained there were no blinds. She was told by stewardesses, Madam, if some pervert is clinging to the side of the aircraft at 35,000 feet, they deserve to see everything. There we go. Love that too.
Very good.
That was actually, you go into modern times, the Bombardier
The A220
CS 100, as it's now referred to, the Airbus 220, I think has windows in the lavatory. Now, in this case, that airplane's much, much lower to the ground and probably more of a, excuse me, somebody has a car or a motorcycle or something that you need a muffler.
We all assumed it was your stomach.
Well, it could have been, but yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. You're hearing the ambiance of the parking lot. That's another possible show title. But I like yours, Nick, the one that you've already kind of pre-selected.
Excellent. Good.
Better. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it must be close by me here. Okay, there's the car. There's the offending car. Oh, it's got one of those stupid little
Still
things
sounds a
in the
little
back.
bit like your stomach. Like,
Very
Has your stomach got a muffler?
It should. At times, I wish it had. Anyway, yeah. So the Bombardier slash Airbus 220 is a lot lower to the ground than a 747. I wouldn't worry too much about it on the 747, but yeah. Anyway,
I think some
you get to-
A380s, certain carriers and configurations also have windows in the lav.
Was it the 380 that you had the shower on?
Yes,
stuff?
that particular room did not have a window.
I was going to say probably.
Okay, that's a car.
That's really nice. I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
With your stupid car.
I'd take some Alka-Seltzer or something if I were you.
Man, sorry. I need to work on hitting that mute button, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, so that was kind of clever. Next from Brent Loper is a cartoon, and the livery has low fare air on it, and people are going up the air stairs on the outside of the jet. On the way, of course, right at the foot of the steps is a display of items for sale or rent, I guess, for the flight, including seats for $15, seatbelt $5, life jacket $7. So, and I think that actually they could have just put Ryanair right on that. There's always jokes made about that. Just kidding. For those of you out there who are employees of Ryanair, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so those are both very funny. Very steep steps, Liz.
And they saved a lot of money on the livery.
They did. Yeah.
I think they used Sharpie.
Yeah, exactly. Big, thick Sharpie.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Moving on. This from Tim Van Ram. You ever heard of that guy? He sent us this. I ran across this beautiful story from Concorde flight engineer Warren Hazelby on his remembrance of flying the Concorde. I thought this was such a great story that it must be shared with the APG community. And so the article is from CNN. Flight engineer reveals what it was really like to operate supersonic jet Concorde. And Liz is showing some nice pictures of that beautiful airplane. Concorde flight engineer Warren Hazelby gets chills recalling his first supersonic flight from London to New York in 2002. Remember stepping onto the flight deck and taking it all in. The interior was smaller than the Boeing 707s and 747s he had worked on for much of his career, but the controls were more complex. Man, it's hard to imagine that anything could be smaller than a 707 or 747 cockpit, honestly. They're pretty tiny too. But looking at this photo that Liz is showing right now, yeah, it is pretty tight in there, that's for sure. Hazelby felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension as he took his seat behind the pilots, facing the colossal panel of knobs. Is he talking about the pilots? Panel of knobs and dials that controlled Concorde's aircraft systems, engines, fuel, and hydraulics. Despite traveling faster than any other commercial passenger plane in history, Concorde was never updated with 21st century technology. The computer responsible for handling this complex equipment was a human. As the flight engineer, it was his job to operate the controls, to make the adjustments needed to ensure the aircraft safely punched through the sound barrier to reach speeds of over Mach 2. That first day, Hazelby looked at the floor-to-ceiling panel and felt very nervous. Flight engineer colleagues had warned him Concorde duties were all-consuming. He'd barely have time to eat or drink a cup of coffee for the duration.
Hang on a minute. They're only airborne for like 3 hours.
I know. So he doesn't have time to... But
yeah.
I mean, a lot of my flights, Nick, were like 45 minutes or an hour 15 on the 717 and the Mad Dog, and I still had time to have a coffee and grab a little snack to eat. I think he was probably a lot busier. I do remember I was a flight engineer at one time in my flying career, flying the 727 engineer panel between basically 89 through mid 90. So about a year and a half of work on the panel. And it is a lot of work on those airplanes. Probably not as much as this was for Hazelby, but yeah, a lot of work, a lot of responsibility, a lot of things to really screw up if you aren't paying attention. Yes, the whole article will be in the show notes if you want to read more. It's a great article. I read through all the way. It was good. Yes, sir.
It was, yeah, very good. Liz, could you put up the picture of the guy setting his watch? Yeah. Now look, why is he setting his watch to the E2B compass?
Well, there was a complicated formula that you could use to interpolate.
Depends on which time zone he was in.
That would be it. Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. There must have been a clock on that panel that they cropped out of this photo. I'm guessing. But you're right. Sundial? Yeah. Wait a minute. It was old technology, but not that old.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good catch there, Captain Nick.
I love it.
All right. Yeah. So a bunch of pictures of the panels and the switches and warning lights and all that kind of stuff. It was a different time when we had the flight engineer. Now, in a lot of airlines, the flight engineer position was a non-pilot position, and they were like, that was their job, and that was they'd always, unless they were somehow able to gain training to become a pilot and go through the pilot ranks, they were going to be a flight engineer for their entire careers. However, there were some, especially here in the U.S., the starting position for the flight engineer seat was a pilot, and we just didn't exercise our flying skills at all. We were exercising our systems management skills, I guess you could say. No, you did not have to be qualified on. The only thing I was qualified on the 727 at that point, Liz, was doing the flight engineer's job. So it wasn't until I upgraded to co-pilot on the 727 that I actually got checked out on the actual flying stuff. But yeah. I-haul boxes says, were there New York rotation turns?
Same crew.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I doubt it very much. Those guys were like gods, so I think they would have decamped to some 5-star hotel and had at least a 24-hour layover.
Was there any inspections or anything on that airplane with all that? Was there any turnaround time for the airplane itself?
I don't think it was excessive, AJ. It was, designed to be just operate like another airliner. Yeah.
All right. Well, very good. So while everybody was yakking, I could have been loading up this video, but no.
By the way, I was when I was a youngster, a cadet, I sat on the side of the runway and watched in the first few weeks of Concorde flying, watched one of the prototypes get airborne out of Bristol Filton. And I'm not kidding. We were on the grass 10 feet from the side of the runway as this thing with 4 Olympus in full reheat took off. And I'm not kidding. We were bouncing up and down on the grass because the ground was shaking so hard. It was very, very impressive. I never forget that. It was incredible.
Hang on. Did you say very impressive?
Very impressive. Oh. Very impressive. Very impressive. Oh, my God.
I got it. Remember, you exclaimed that in the last episode, Nick?
Did I? I
Yes.
don't remember that at all.
Oh, you don't remember that? And we said, oh, we're going to get that as a sound clip.
Oh, my God.
Liz was adamant that I performed that operation.
Fair enough.
All right. Okay.
I've been immortalized. Hooray.
Yeah. Well, we have several things that you said over the years, immortalized as sound files, as well as some from the great Dr. stuff as well. Like
16 inches high.
Okay. All right. Let's add. I think there's a little setup on this, isn't it? Okay. This is from Chet or Chet. I always have problems with the name C-H-E-T. Chet, probably. What if airplanes or airlines were people? I'm sorry, something was blocking my view of the title. He says, this is great. At least we're not Amtrak. It's a YouTube video, and you have to watch this. But you can kind of get the gist of it by listening to it. But trust me, you'll be happy to find the show notes and find this YouTube short, again, titled, If Airlines Were People. And here we go.
Oh, United. Thought you'd cancel at the last minute.
Delta, it's good to see you and your ego.
Biscoff.
How y'all doing?
Southwest. What's with all the bags?
People love free bags. You wouldn't get it, Delta. I can just sit anywhere, right? Who needs first class when you got no class? How you doing, partner? I'm just gonna sit here right next to you. You know why? Because I like to sit near the bathroom, because I know I'm gonna need it.
Oh, no.
You don't think it could be...
Fasten your seatbelt.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late.
Look,
Spirit.
crash a party.
Looks like we all made it safely.
You're not counting emotional damage.
Quit overcompensating for your tiny cockpit.
You smell.
Hey, I stole some beer from JetBlue. Anyone want one?
Don't mind if I do. You got a bottle opener?
$5, cash or card.
Gentlemen, I propose a toast. Though we all have our differences, at least we're not Amtrak.
Oh, horse feathers. Nobody laughs at Amtrak, you hear? Nobody!
And why that guy has an English accent, I'm not sure.
Like Scottish, I don't know.
No.
Or Scottish, or
I don't know.
yeah. Okay.
I want to say that was something that came out like during the pandemic when we all had lots of time to. I think it's been around for a little bit.
It's been around for a while.
Yeah, it's been around for a while, but it never gets old. If you have not seen it, it is 100% worth watching.
And the Delta guy, of course, he's like in a tux, I think. And your ego.
Biscoff.
Very clever. Love it. Anyway, you need to watch that. That was very funny. Thank you very much, Chet, for sending that in. We'll move on to... Yeah. Do you want me to read it, and then, Nick, you can respond to it, or do you want to read the entire thing?
No, you go ahead, sir.
Okay. So he's writing to Nick. I'm writing to you firstly because we have already met in person and have communicated in the past on several issues. This is from... Oh, okay, let me start over. This is feedback from Near Bendover. No, Bendov. Okay, Near Bendov. So we'll continue with his feedback. I'm writing to you firstly because we've already met in person and have communicated in the past on several issues. In addition, because of your fighter and airline pilot's background. While flying in areas where ICBMs are launched is not advisable, these missiles, if you prefer, do not really threaten aircraft in the region unless they're flying in their launch path. ICBMs do not usually look for airborne targets at the launch phase. However, I'd like to suggest some further food for thought. As you may be, here in Israel, we have maybe he means as you may know. Here in Israel, we have a 3-layer air defense system, namely Iron Dome, David Sling, and Arrow. In addition, the USA's THAAD, do you know how they pronounce that? THAAD? THAAD?
I would have guessed that, yeah.
Yeah, THAAD.
That's only a guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not heard that. Was recently deployed in the region and became operational as well. Any commercial aircraft flying into Israel's Ben Gurion International Airport in Tel Aviv, located in central Israel, is flying within range of any of the above 4 guided air defense missiles. Imagine what happens when a Virgin A340 widebody or a Delta 787, for that matter, that'd be an unusual sight, is on its final approach into Tel Aviv, and rockets launched from Lebanon or Gaza have to be intercepted at the same time by any one of these missiles. Quite an air defense challenge. We are pleased to report that the Israeli airspace is pretty well controlled and is very safe. Flying into Tel Aviv is way safer than the risk taken by Air France in Iraq and Iran. It is a pity that many airlines have stopped servicing this market, and we hope that this terrible war will end soon and that they come back. All the best, Nir. And Nick, so it was addressed to you, so what's your response?
I had the pleasure of meeting Nir when he was in the UK, and we had a good old chat about things in common. So in particular, he's been very useful to me in assisting the background work I needed to do for a couple of stories concerning the Israeli Air Force, both the capture of the defecting MiG-21 and an engagement that they did to take out an aircraft with a lot of enemy high-profile senior officers at the start of the Six-Day War, I think that was. So anyway, great stories. So he's a lovely guy and very interesting. So I was delighted in replying to him, and my feeling was that the problem, the main reason I suspect that airlines have stopped operating is primarily commercial, in that I don't think the number of passengers that they can normally carry in and out of Israel is now commercially viable, as well as, of course, well, I don't know about other airlines, but the United Kingdom government advise our airlines of countries that it is or is not safe to fly to. And if once our government say this country is currently not safe to fly to, we just stop operating, because to go against government advice would be foolish, in our opinion. Of course, things like insurance would be a problem, etc., etc. So it's not so much the airline's choice as the government of the country the airline belongs to. So I commiserate in that. I think it's tough, but then again, Israel and surrounding countries are pretty much war zone at the moment, and I don't think any airline is going to go in there freely and feel comfortable about it. But the interesting thing about, it's the first time I think we've ever really had multiple intercontinental missiles being fired and had an airliner in the vicinity, and as such, I think it's a dreadfully dodgy place to be. I mean, not all these missiles are going to necessarily be targeting so far that they go right over the top. And you're right, if you're anywhere near the defense systems that are going to engage them, that is not a healthy piece of airspace. And not, in the best will, even commercial space rockets have failures. Certainly military missiles are going to have more failures. So there is a very good chance that some of those missiles will not make it all the way and will come down at some point halfway, perhaps between their launch point and their intended target, and you might be in the same piece of airspace. Now, I realize it's, you can use the big sky theory and say, I think we're going to be safe, but I don't think that really comes within the safety parameters that we operate airliners. We steer, when there is an alternative, which is to go completely around the airspace, it's going to cost a little more in time and fuel, but you're going to have zero threat as opposed to a potential threat, even if it might be small. So my feeling is you just get out of the way. Thank you very much indeed. Wouldn't want to be anywhere near that airspace where these missiles are being fired. That's very much my personal feeling.
And especially, as you mentioned, when you're operating into and out of a place where that's the actual target, not necessarily where the missiles are transiting, that that it's just a higher risk, I believe. But
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Cargo is in high demand.
Oh
still,
yes.
As iHaulbox is saying.
Yeah. In fact, I think once the commercial pressure becomes strong enough to make it viable, so you can afford to pay the insurers or not insure your aircraft, is, I guess, an alternative, and make sure your crews are well compensated, the ones that volunteer to do those kind of flights, then yes, there are companies that will definitely fly in and out of areas like that.
They're just pilots.
Delta's probably one, yeah, I don't know.
Probably, yeah. Management has put several of those guys over there. Hey, you want to fly over here? Get rid of some.
Yeah, I'll hang into the bitter end. I'm
okay.
Good.
We'll try to.
He's a glutton for punishment.
Tie a bow on this soon, hopefully. Yeah, he is a glutton for punishment. All right, let's do this
and
next
tacos.
one.
Actually, I'm a glutton for tacos.
I love tacos.
Tacos back
Speaking
here.
of poor Taco the dog.
Yeah, good old Taco.
With a big
Hooray.
cone around his collar.
Yeah, he's got a sore on his backside because he's been rather itchy from some allergies. So he's not happy about it.
I understand that. I never had anybody put a cone
Is
on
he
me,
wearing
but,
a cone of...
Yes.
Oh,
Tony
no.
Chan.
I know, poor guy.
Itchy tacos are the worst.
Yeah, I wouldn't go for the itchy tacos. That would be bad. That is an itchy taco.
I was thinking about having some itchy tacos tonight. Yeah, I guess not.
I would avoid it.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Good advice. All right, let's move back over here to the Evernote. We got this from Southwest Airlines first officer, Eugene. And he's kind of commenting about our coverage of the Nashville and San Diego incidents. He said, this is Eugene, a first officer at Southwest, and have actually written in before a few times in the past with a How I Got Here. I remember that, episode 368.
Yeah, it's very good.
A video of a passenger singing happy birthday to me when my flight attendants found out it was my birthday, 376, the episode. And then when I became a patron, yay, at $7.37 per episode in honor of my
Excellent.
flying the
Generosity.
737, episode 486. Thank you, Eugene. You're awesome. I'm writing this feedback in response to your recent discussions on the two incidents involving aircraft crossing the runway while another aircraft was clear for takeoff at Nashville and San Diego. While I do agree that two incidents like this could have been very catastrophic or could have had very catastrophic results happening in such a short period of time is alarming, I do respectfully disagree with Captain... Oh, all right. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway,
you
moving
have to
on.
Give me $7.37 back.
I knew that was coming. I did that for drama. So let's see. I do respectfully disagree with Captain Jeff on his solution of having everyone on the same frequency. In my opinion, this would actually reduce safety for two reasons. First is frequency saturation. How many times have you been at a busy airport like Atlanta or O'Hare, and the frequency is so busy it's almost impossible to get a word in, and now you are essentially doubling the number of transmissions on that same frequency. Second is controller workload. The controller's already busy handling all the traffic on the ground or in the air, and with the same frequency now they have to control all aircraft in the air while controlling their movement on the ground at the same time. Okay, I'll pause for a moment. What I meant was not like combine the two frequencies and like every bit of communication on one frequency. I just mean for those times where aircraft are actually crossing runways or cleared for takeoff, cleared for landing. But I see your point. Yes, there is that factor of extremely busy frequencies and people stepping on each other and that kind of thing. So I'm respectfully clarifying, and I respectfully take your respectful disagreement. I think I've just made up a word.
It's fine.
I also want to look at, not the first time, not the last. I also want to look at both incidents and point out that they are very unique situations. First, with Nashville, I've flown in and out of Nashville.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. You can't have something that's very unique.
Oh,
It's
good point.
Unique or
Unique.
it's not.
You know, Linda, my formerly lawfully wedded wife, used to make that point all the time.
Good for her.
You can't.
Yes.
Nothing can be more unique than
One of
another.
her redeeming features.
What if it's extraordinarily unique?
Nope.
No.
Unique is
It's
unique.
just unique.
And
Mm.
yeah, you're not sort of pregnant.
I don't like it. I think we should create new. Yeah. Well, you could be very pregnant, or you could be.
You know, I think we're going to lose some of our Patreon funding.
If we don't continue on the story, we're going to lose.
I hope we can recover from this somehow.
Listener, yes.
I hope you're enjoying this, Eugene, with the way it's intended. Anyway, let's see. First, with Nashville, I've flown in and out of Nashville many times in the past 14 years, and have only seen one other aircraft, a military C-130 Hercules, ever use runway 1331, and that was first thing in the morning. I was following them to 2 right, and at last second, ground let me know it was available if they wanted it, still sending me to 2 right. Runway 1331 is the longest runway at Nashville, so maybe Alaska needed it for operational purposes, but once again, very rare to see an aircraft use that particular runway. Yeah, I think we did make that point. It's not a common runway to use. Although way back in the day, back in the 90s, sometimes we'd fly from Atlanta to Nashville, and if it wasn't too busy, we'd ask for the straight in to 3-1, and then we were just basically lined up with it all the way, from Atlanta. Yeah, well, it was quite a long flight. Yeah, no, it was one of our nice, easy flights.
Did you have time for coffee during that flight?
Of course, we always have time for coffee stuff, no matter how long the flight is. But you have to get the coffee before you close the cockpit door, though. Otherwise, probably not. Secondly, with San Diego, I have flown in and out of San Diego more times than I can count in the past 17 years, and crossing the runway to the north side of the field is something that just started due to the construction of the new terminal being built at the airport. Yeah, I did mention this.
You
as
certainly
well.
mentioned that.
Yeah. Before and once the construction on the new terminal is complete, it was always taxiway on the south side of runway 27 with no need to cross over to the north side. And the only time I ever saw an airliner on the north side of the runway was a charter for the Chargers. It's an NFL team. At least before they moved to Los Angeles, Padres or San Diego State University game. Other than that, the north side is exclusively GA, General Aviation.
However, I do make a point there, Jeff.
Yeah.
Just because something is an unusual routing or a rarely used runway, I don't think that necessarily makes it more common to have an error. In fact, I think if you do something a bit one-off that you haven't done very often, people are more careful when they're organizing and doing clearances for something that they don't do very often, because they're going, I haven't done this before. I haven't done this for months. Better make sure I do it right. So rather than a reduced risk, I think often you actually... rather than increased risk, I think you probably reduce the risk doing something that you don't
That's not
normally
normal.
do because you're being very careful because you don't normally do it. Whereas if it's something you have done frequently and sort of got in the groove with, I think you're more likely to make cognitive errors because it's just part of a general routine and you're almost automatically giving clearances, etc.
Slightly less likely for confirmation bias if you're not used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think you're agreeing with me.
He's respectfully agreeing.
Yeah,
I respectfully agree.
I thank you, Jake.
There's a lot of respect here today.
Yeah,
the learned gentleman.
I'm just waiting for the moment where I can
think
disrespectfully either agree or disagree with someone.
Well, you're
next time
always
that are remaining.
disrespecting us, Steph. So that would be a common thing.
We get much later in the show. I'm going to start disrespectfully agreeing.
I'm so sorry, Eugene. We're not making fun of you. We are not. You're bringing up some really good points. We're making fun of
you have
ourselves,
made
yes.
some great points.
Yeah. Oh, this is the best. I think the best paragraph in the whole thing, Nick. However, I do agree with Captain Nick. When Captain Nick. Well, no, of course not. When it was said he wishes there was an international standard with lights to be used when holding in position and when starting the takeoff roll. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you said like many airports like LAX, LAS, etc., you land on the outboard and take off on the inboard. So taxiing across a runway with aircraft in position is very common. At Southwest, both the captain and the FO do visually check before crossing any runway, as all airlines should, I think, either when they're active or closed. But I've crossed many times with aircraft holding in position at the end. Granted, 90% of the time, ATC lets you know an aircraft is holding. Yeah, they should, I think. Unfortunately, it has become expectation bias that the aircraft is holding, and these two times they weren't. Yeah, and let me interject this. A lot of times, because of the lack of standard lighting protocols, you don't really know. Is that airplane? Because when they're almost 2 miles down the runway, if they've just started their takeoff roll, it kind of looks like they're just stationary, that they're holding, but they actually may be moving.
Yeah. There's no relative movement. The only way you would tell as an aircraft is coming down the runway towards you is when it starts to grow in size and blossom. And it has to be quite close to you to do that.
Yeah.
I'm using official behaviorologist language here.
Tim Van Ram says the U.S. Coast Guard Air Station, San Diego, fixed-wing aircraft must cross a local road to access the airfield. Okay. What does that have to do with anything?
I don't know. Is that like Gibraltar where a road crosses the runway?
Yes, very true.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Anyway, well, thank you, Tim, for that. So, to finish up with Southwest First Officer Eugene, we'll never hear from again. In the end, I don't have a solution either. Maybe some air traffic controllers can chime in, but just my 2 cents. Oh, well, AJ, what do you think?
See the stand-in for the air traffic controllers?
Because we associated you with your involvement with the Opposing Bases podcast. You're a big supporter of theirs and good friends with the hosts. I think everybody now assumes that you're an air traffic controller too.
I just play one on TV. That's all.
Yeah. But anyway, so no, thank you very much, Eugene, for chiming in with your 2 cents. It allowed us to have some fun and also allowed us to kind of agree with what you're saying. We absolutely do. And yeah, I know it's kind of it's easy to say something like I did, like I think they should be on the same frequency for aircraft or runway activity. I still believe that, but I can see the point, the contrary point as well.
Yeah. In fact, someone made a very good point, Jeff, in that when you're given, as in you are in the States, multiple aircraft landing clearance, you might be 10 miles out when you're given your landing clearance. And if you're taxiing out and then put onto the runway controller's frequency, you won't necessarily have heard half those landing clearances, so you're no wiser. But by being on the frequency, because those clearances were given a long time ago.
Yeah, but I don't care if somebody's been cleared to land or not. I mean, I can see them on my TCAS display that they're on final for the runway, and I can see how far they are away.
But your
I don't think they're coming in for the
we're all
option.
on the same frequency. So if you
No,
can see
no,
when you
that's not what I'm
TCAS, you
saying.
don't need to be on the same frequency.
Yeah, I'm saying even if you're on a different frequency, you still have the ability to see both by looking, depending on the weather conditions, but also by looking at your TCAS display or your ADSB
absolutely.
display, that there's an airplane, and you can see the relative movement of the coming in, so you know. And then usually, well, anyway.
Will you still see stuff on TCAS even if that transponder's in ground mode? If that airport doesn't have ASDX or anything like that?
You have to be on TARA or TA. But that's usually some. And again, that's another critical point you're making, because it depends on where what your standard operating procedure. But if you're actually taking a runway, usually some point before you're actually going onto the runway for takeoff, you have gone in from the standby mode to TARA.
Well, that applies to things that have TCAS, I guess was my point. So
yeah, well, I'm
there's
thinking
somebody
of
who's
like
got
big airports, like the people that are operating to these big places like Atlanta.
Well,
Chicago,
we've had wasn't one of these recent runway incursions with a King Air or something like that. So you can be a relatively small. I don't know. Not all King Airs are going to have TCAS, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
so I'm saying you can still have.
You can have if they have Mode C. They don't have to have TCAS for us to see them on our TCAS.
Okay, so that's my question. So if like the transponder I have in the 182 and the Malibu and all that is, when you're on the ground, it's in ground mode.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you take off, you don't push a button, you don't change modes, it automatically goes to normal mode S or whatever it is. So
can you pre-select that? Or you have to get your weight on wheels to activate it?
Yeah, I think you can tell it to do altitude reporting. You can select altitude reporting, but if you just let it do it automatically, it's I don't know if it's a vertical speed thing or if it's a ground speed thing, but it automatically switches from, it says on the display GND when you're on the ground, and then it switches to ALT when you're in the air.
Yeah, I only have anecdotal experience with airliners operated by Delta, and in our checklist before we actually taken a runway for either line up and wait or clear for takeoff, that thing is already in a mode where you can see on the display whether unless you're at a very, very small little airport and people don't even have to have Mode C transponders, you're going to see them on your TCAS display. Cool. I'm going to need a mode ring. Oh, like a mood ring. Yeah. Huh. Well, I don't know what it is, Tim, but Liz thinks you're just the funniest guy. I'm really not sure exactly what she sees in comments. Okay, time to get out of here. Great. This is the last thing that anybody's going to remember about the show, and poor Eugene is going to have an extremely bad taste in his mouth for even sending anything in to us, but I hope not.
But it was a wonderful piece of feedback. And
it was. Thank you, Steph.
Yes.
We
enjoyed the feedback.
Yeah.
Did.
Wasn't Eugene one of the fact checkers, or am I thinking of someone else?
Yes. I don't think it's this Eugene. Well, I don't know.
Maybe.
What was the other guy's name? Eugene and
Dinkus.
Dinkus, yes.
Do you know somebody named Dinkus?
Yeah. That's a good point.
It's probably before Eugene's time. He probably wasn't listening
I don't
to
think
the show.
so.
He's probably scratching his head going,
oh, that's true.
Who are the fact checkers?
368.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, I feel like it was before that a little bit, but
back.
not much.
Anybody else notice 368, 638?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Wow. That's weird.
You got to mind your doo-doos.
Oh. Yes, it's very important. All right. It is now time for us to wrap this baby up, as Liz likes to tell me. And the first thing we do is point you over to airlinepilotguy.com, where it's safe and secure. Yeah. Lots of good stuff on that website. And,
is it warm and fuzzy?
It could be. And you might,
is it very unique?
It is very unique, and you might even be able to spot Charlie. because Charlie's on board.
Well, that was funny till that.
Are we going back to the Vietnam War now?
It was funny to me. No, the FedEx or UPS guy said when he checked in, he said Charlie on board, and then he declared it as an emergency. But it was very important for him to let the controller know that he had information, Charlie. Not sure why, but anyway, yeah, there are a lot of things that I say and think in my head that I think are funny, and then a lot of people just point out to me.
Well,
that I'm
I
wrong.
just waited because I figured that was a reference to something that I missed before I got here, and it turns out it was.
Yes,
But
it was a news item. But even if
I was
if you
not
were
helped
here,
out
Steph,
by my
you
fellow
probably
co-hosts.
would have still gone.
I might have laughed.
I
might have laughed. You never know.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
don't know. Nah, 50-50.
Fine.
Yeah,
We'll leave it as a
okay.
possibility.
Moving on. Okay, lots of good stuff over there on the website. Check it out. And let's see, we're also on social media. So
Sure
Steph's
are.
going to tell us about that.
Couple different places for you to find us on the social medias. You can head over to Facebook. That's facebook.com/airlinepilotguy. We're on X at APG Crew is the handle you will use there. Also, if you would like to see Captain Nick's weekly show artwork, that is on Instagram, instagram.com/APG Crew. And if you would like to join in the hilarity and sometimes seriousness, but hopefully good times for these live recordings, you can do that on youtube.com/@airlinepilotguy/streams. You can also rewatch previously recorded episodes there.
Good point.
I suppose. Yeah.
And if you are one of the people that don't use like Apple Podcasts or all those other different podcast client softwares out there, and you want to use YouTube Music, we are now, our show is, the podcast is actually on YouTube Music. So there you go. That was because of Kevin Dryden. He kind of prompted me to look into putting it over there, and so I finally did it. So there you go. You don't get all the fun, you don't get all the good stuff, you know, like chapter images and stuff like that. But you know what? Honestly, I'm not sure anybody really cares about any of that stuff. So we should probably do some kind of a
I think
survey
Hillel
to see
cares
if
about
anybody
it.
actually, huh?
I think Hillel cares about it.
Oh, Hillel? Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's see
he
what
cares about it.
he thinks about it. Okay. Hello. What do you think about chapter images?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
Not really sure what that means. Okay. Well, come on over here and tell us all about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and plain tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel.
Jeff,
Yeah?
which washcloth is mine? I
Yep.
really wish you would stop moving them.
There's only one, and it's mine. Sorry, man. Just have to use your hands or something. Anyway, I'd also like to thank our wonderful producer, Liz Piper.
Hooray!
Sorry, I
Well
forgot
done,
to
Liz. Good job.
thank you last week, Liz.
Oh, that's
but,
okay.
I
No
remembered
problem.
this week.
Yeah.
So thanks for all the hard work that you do behind the scenes.
My
and all the
pleasure.
wonderful pithy things you say during the show. It's
Pithy?
always very entertaining.
Did I piss you off?
Pithy? No, you didn't pith me off today. All right, let's see. How do I make this go away? There we go. And also, we'd like to thank AJ for joining us again.
Yeah, great
Thanks,
to
AJ.
Felt
see
it
you,
was worth it.
AJ.
Glad to be back.
And,
Enjoyed it.
Oh, we never mentioned if you're watching the video, he is in the front area, the cockpit area of a very classic World War II warbird, the B-29.
Fifi.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the
Specifically.
show's finished, he's going to spin around and take off.
I was gonna say you're facing the wrong direction though.
Well, that's the beautiful part about the swiveling seat. See, I can just
Yeah.
swivel around. And
Steph is
off I
always
go.
thinking of safety.
I had the same thing
Just
in
the
my
practical
RVS here. I have the swivel seat in the front, you know.
There you go.
Yeah, it's not as nice.
Do you ever swivel around while you're driving, though?
No, there's a placard that says I'm not allowed to do that. So.
And being a professional pilot, being a professional pilot, you've never ignored a placard ever.
No, never,
ever.
Yeah.
No.
But anyway, so great to have you again, AJ, and we'd like to thank our live audience. And speaking of pithy, man,
we had a good showing tonight.
Yeah,
it was good.
So
Some
thanks
great
for,
comments.
showing up and making great comments, and thank you, just all of you out there listening and supporting the show financially and sending in feedback. It's just you're all awesome people, and we love you very much. And we hope to see you again on another episode in the future. And until then, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Talons, Douglas.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, everybody. Enjoy your new computer, Jeff.
See ya.
I will.
See you next time. I was waiting for AJ to say something.
AJ did. He's
Is it my imagination, or is Liz getting a bit slow in her old age?
I think Captain Jeff talked just as AJ did his.
I didn't hear AJ. Sorry.
We were covering each other a little bit, but I heard him say, "See ya."
Oh, sorry.
Do you want to do that all over again?
Okay. Wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Talons, Douglas.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, everybody. Enjoy your computer, Jeff.
See ya.
See you next time.
See, it was Nick's fault because he said something that I had to respond to, but this time I didn't respond. I said,
Got it.
By the way, Nick, before you leave, I think I'd put a strong vote in for a change in the title recommendation, because very unique, warm and fuzzy, and itchy tacos is a good title.
Saw that.
Charlie's.
I like that.
Charlie's very unique.
I have to
warm,
convert
fuzzy,
that
and
into
itchy
something
tacos.
visual, and that's hard.
No,
I've already
I want you
got
to just
one.
type in, type into your AI generator,
'Cause I've got a
warm,
bunch-
fuzzy,
I've
itchy
got another
tacos,
one.
and see what comes up.
I
not
will,
sure you
I
want
will
to
do
see
that
what comes
just
up.
for fun.
I had goofy twatter. I had cooked goose, and I had ambience of the parking lot.
Oh my God!
I thought about
Wait,
that too
is it-
when I said that.
Is it ambience or ambiance?
The ambiance.
Ambiance.
Or ambience if you prefer.
Ambience.
Either way. Yeah. Potato.
I'm gonna do a picture of a flight deck with a goose sticking its head through the window
And apologizing?
saying
Sorry.
Well, he could actually. I could have a being about saying sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Anyone seen my bag?
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
I do like it.
I like it.
Warm
Turn off your recorder, Jeff.
Oh,
warm and fuzzy, itchy tacos. I'm going to try it.
I think you just
you
need
spelled
to
it.
send us.
You spelled it wrong. It's tacos, not tacos.
It's ambient tacos.
Here we go again.
There's no R in it, is there? There's no tacos. It's a taco.
There's no H in it either.
No, that would be thaco.
You can, you know what, Nick? Through the
Actually, we
windshield
pronounce it
of the
like it has an
plane,
H
you can be looking down to the ground, and there'll be a sign for a restaurant, the Itchy Taco.
Oh yeah, well yeah. If I can somehow fit a sign or
Add that to list of restaurants
perhaps
I will
the pilot
never eat.
could have it on his tray table.
Sounds
An
disgusting.
itchy taco. Maybe a fuzzy taco.
Sounds
Warm,
disgusting.
fuzzy, itchy taco.
A warm, fuzzy, itchy taco.
Yeah.
Well, now we're going into a
Charlie's warm,
realm.
fuzzy. Just,
Now it's getting complicated.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had
Adios.
to endure all this.
Bye.
Cheers, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.